Chapter 262, Unprofitable Business on the Mountaintop. He Xiang looked at the ruined Nanxing village, paused for a moment, and then broke down sobbing. Zuo looked with slight fear at the female Xiao nearby. She seemed to have resumed her past state of motionlessness. After yesterday's battle, the female Xiao was much more sinister from every angle in his eyes. This made him slightly insecure. He would treasure his life and stay far from female Xiao. Especially strong females that knew evil spells. He had discussed with Pu Yao for a while yesterday and hadn't concluded anything. He still needed to work, so after resting for a night, he continued to build formation battle watchtowers. After such a battle, the captives in the camp were as obedient as they could be. However, the issue that arose was that no one dared to go within 3 zhang of Zuo Mo. Zuo Mo originally had a question to ask Yuan Zhang. But when he walked 2 steps towards the other, he saw Yuan Zhang's face paled and his legs were trembling. Zuo Mo suddenly remembered that some of the enemies had been scared to death by the strong girl, and his steps instantly stopped. Yuan Zhang was a rare kind of genius. If he was scared to death, it would be so unprofitable. He could only stop moving. He thought of the strong girl that wouldn't leave him alone. Wasn't he now the plague that no one would approach? Zuo Mo's mood immediately became terrible. He waved his hand for Yuan Zhang to leave. Watching as Yuan Zhang ran away faster than a rabbit as though he was pardoned from death, his mood became increasingly terrible. However, when he recalled Pu Yao's dark expression and undisguised rage, his mood instantly became better. As expected, happiness was always built upon other people's pain. Zuo Mo snickered and went back to building the city. Just as Zuo Mo had seen, Pu Yao's mood was extremely terrible. He felt great failure at the appearance of the female Xiao. He didn't know her history, nor the scriptures she used, didn't know how her power really was, didn't know anything. Yet he also had no solution. If this was still the time when his strength had not been damaged, if he was unhappy, he could just pinch and make the person explode. But now his soul was extremely damaged. He had to act carefully and could only rely on Zuo Mo. Zuo Mo was the place he had put his soul in, and was now under threat from the female Xiao. How could Pu Yao feel safe like this? Also, he could not understand the female Xiao. This point caused the insecurity inside to grow. If something occurred, he could do nothing. His strength had reached the lowest point in his life. The female Xiao's strength wasn't just ridiculously strong, but extremely strange. It seems that we need to temporarily cooperate, Pu Yao gritted out to the gravestone. This woman is too dangerous. The gravestone didn't make a sound. Pu Yao smirked coldly. Aren't you afraid that something will happen to him? Other than him, do you have any other choice? The gravestone suddenly became as smooth and clear as a mirror, a figure blurrily appearing. Pu Yao smiled. After the first formation battle watchtower, Zuo Mo's construction speed increased dramatically. This was due to him acclimating to the new changes of his body. Zuo Mo gave the move he had randomly created that day the name of diving from heaven. Accidentally performing diving from heaven had made him realize many aspects of his new body. The most evident was the consciousness. His consciousness had not developed very much over time, as though it was stuck at a certain barrier. In the sky that day, when he had accidentally stirred the flames in the turbulent air, he had comprehended and instantly broke through in that moment. The improvement in his consciousness was enormous. This also caused his speed in building formation battle watchtowers to dramatically increase. The most difficult part of the formation battle watchtower was carving the formation. After his consciousness improved, it became easier to carve formations. Adding on that he had the experience of making one tower, his construction speed made people gape. Yuan Zhang, who was watching from a distance, increasingly felt that boss was a monster. 1 female and 1 male monster. The demand of resources suddenly increased. Ji Wei and Sun Bao instantly were so busy they were dizzy. Zuo Mo furiously built at a rate of 1 formation battle watchtower every 2 days. Tower after tower rose up. Zuo used almost all of the empty ground to build formation battle watchtowers. Zuo had a strong feeling that the potential of his body was slowly being uncovered. All kinds of heavy labor would squeeze out every bit of strength in his body, controlling the fire paper would consume every drop of his Ling power, carving formations exhausted his spiritual power. He suddenly felt some anticipation. When this city was finished, what would he become? The anticipation and yearning of the Xiuzha in the camp increased every day. Such a strong city, adding such a dense patch of formation battle watchtowers, they thought that no one could destroy this. Just as Zuo was happily busy, Ma Fan and the others arrived at the camp with the enormous slave-transporting boats. Looking at the black batch of Xiu slaves, Zuo was at a complete loss for words. The 1,000 and more captives that Gongsun Cha had sent back had already gave him a headache. Just after he had managed to settle them down, Ma Fan and the others had brought to him 1,000 and more of Xiu slaves, and just Lianqi Xiu slaves. Zuo was exceptionally angry, pointing at the Xiu slaves in front of him and asking expressionlessly, "What do I do with them?" Ma Fan, Xia Shan, and the others were very careful. They also felt that their spoils this time were somewhat absurd. Xia Shan piled a smile on his face. Xiu slaves can be used to mine. Mining? I don't believe they can do as well as Lil Pagoda, Zuo said with a black face. Lil Pagoda and Zuo were connected in mind. Hearing Zuo praise it, it whooshed out of somewhere and smugly twisted its slightly chubby body. However, when it saw Zuo's pot black face, its figure froze and then it fled. Many incidents had told him when his daddy wasn't in a good mood, nothing good would come out of appearing in front of him. Ma Fan carefully gave a smile as he said, "Boss, you don't know how poor the outer hall is, so poor that they only have Xiu slaves. We didn't have any solution. If we came back with empty hands, that doesn't fit in with what you usually teach us." "Yes, yes." Lei Peng hurriedly agreed as he furiously nodded his head. Zuo smiled coldly. "Not bad, not bad. You guys really remember my words well." "Of course." Lei Peng beat loudly on his hairy chest. Xia Shan and Ma Fan exchanged a look and obediently closed their mouths. The two of them looked with sympathy at Lei Peng. "Then you can support them." Zuo glanced at Lei Peng. "You forgot the other phrase I said. We don't do unprofitable business." "Oh, I will take it from your rewards." Lei Peng gave a sky-shaking howl and grabbed onto Zuo's leg. "Boss. I was wrong. I really was wrong." The anger in Zuo's heart erupted as he kicked Lei Peng out 20 zhang away and swore, "You also know you are wrong." "Ha! Do you know how much jingshi you people spend every day?" 5 pieces. 700 people, 3,500 pieces of third-grade jingshi every day. Do you really think Ji is a tycoon? Gu is so poor right now Ji almost can't eat. Everyone was scared by the acrimony in Zuo's words that they were shaking. They found he was right as they thought about it. They would consume large amounts of jingshi when they cultivated every day. All of the expenses were provided by boss. They had never thought about it before. Now that boss calculated it, they jumped in fright. Many people suddenly felt guilty. As long as it was jingshi for cultivation, boss was always open and had never shorted them. "Ha! Now you guys have taken back this many Xiu slaves, you just want Ji to go bankrupt." Zuo's anger had not eased. Nothing could infuriate him more than going bankrupt. "Boss, we'll go steal jingshi for you." Lei Peng rolled and climbed over to express his determination. "Right, boss, we can't let you lose. We'll rob them blind." The crowd of people instantly started howling. Their killing intent scared the 1,000 Xiu slaves into paling. Then what to do with the Xiu slaves? "Sell them?" Ma Fan carefully asked. "Sell to whom?" The anger in Zuo's heart had decreased greatly as he snorted coldly, "Wouldn't that be telling other people what you guys did Nanxing village?" Everyone stared at each other, and instantly found it was a problem. Should we kill them? Xia Shan hesitantly asked. The expressions of many of the surrounding people were not natural. Once the words came out, the Xiu slaves that were nearest instantly paled and knelt down with a bang, furiously kowtowing and begging, Darren. We can work. We're willing to do any work. Darren, we only ask for something to eat, get up. Get up. Suemo instantly had a headache. He had never seen anything like this before. Those Xiu slaves didn't dare to get up, all of them kneeling down in a wave as they furiously kowtowed. Darren, the already impatient Suemo suddenly raged, all of you, shut up and get the motherfucking up. I'll kill anyone who kneels. These words were very effective at silencing everyone. Suemo didn't speak another word, turning and leaving. Ma Fan and the others that remained behind looked at each other with frowns on their faces. Those people who had suggested to take the Xiu slaves with them were full of regret, but at this time, no one was in the mood to talk. Suemo found a formation battle watchtower in a dejected mood, and laid down. He might have many people under his command, but in reality, he still was a youth who hadn't seen much. Wukong's sword sect also had Xiu slaves. He had some sympathy for Xiu slaves. They were a group of pitiful people. But life was not easy. His sympathy wasn't going to be used on Xiu slaves he didn't know or related to. This group of Xiu slaves were a great burden, but he couldn't do something like massacre all the Xiu slaves. Usually, he was used to facing these things from an objective perspective. Who could have thought that something like this would one day occur to him? Little Mountain Jia was full of danger. Their goal was to quickly leave. Where did he have the energy to take care of this group of helpless Xiu slaves? What Suemo needed right now was Xiuzhe with offensive power, and not Xiu slaves that could not fight. These Xiu slaves also needed to consume ling grains or jingshi. Even though it wouldn't be a huge amount, but due to the large numbers, it wouldn't be a small amount. The already heavy burden would grow bigger. Why had he encountered such a terrible matter? Suemo laid down with anger and no strength. Looking at the exquisite formations on the ceiling, he fell into a daze. Suddenly, Pu Yao's voice suddenly sounded in his mind, I have a solution. Chapter 263 Suemo's determination. Hearing Pu Yao's words, Suemo's mind became alert. He pretended to accidentally glance at the female Xiu before secretly entering the sea of consciousness. What solution? Suemo asked straightforwardly. However, when he saw Pu Yao, he stilled. Pu Yao wasn't sitting on the gravestone like he usually did but sitting in front of it. Weren't these two at odds? Suspicion flashed across Suemo's heart, but his attention was quickly attracted by Pu Yao's words. I know what you are worried about. Pu Yao's thin lips curved in an enchanting smile. Suemo was slightly distracted by a nonsensical question in his mind. Why was everyone around him so evil and feminine? Even Gongsun Cha seemed to be progressing towards abnormal now. The strong girl that had appeared was also very evil. Pu Yao seemed very confident. It is a pity to waste jingshi on their body. Suemo rolled his eyes upon hearing this. Just say the solution, don't waste words. He. Pu Yao wasn't moved, his bloody pupil narrowing slightly. Why don't you consider making them cultivate Mo? Cultivate Mo? Suemo instantly froze. Exactly, cultivate Mo, Pu Yao smiled. The ling energy of Little Mountain Jia is corroded, but that doesn't affect Mo cultivation. This group of Xiu slaves have just entered Lianqi, and their cultivation is rough. It would not be difficult for them to switch to Mo cultivation. Also, cultivating Mo does not require ling energy, and you do not need to use up jingshi. Suemo's interest was stirred by Pu Yao's suggestion. He asked with curiosity, how to cultivate Mo? There are Mo skills, Pu Yao said in a matter-of-fact tone. Hearing this, Suemo was furious. He jumped off the ground, pointing at Pu Yao's nose and swearing, Ha, you do have Mo skills. What did you say in the past to Ji? You said you didn't have Mo skills, making Ji practice, Sky Wave Fist scripture. Now you run out and say you have Mo skills, you were fooling Ge. Pu Yao was speechless. The matter of cultivating Mo was quickly finalized. Pu Yao took out a set of Mo's skill called Hardship Guard. The previous version of Hardship Guard was a Mo skill called Hardship Abyss. It was first created by a heart-addicted monkey. He was born very weak and untalented. He could not cultivate the heart addiction Mo skill of his clan. After many troubles, he personally created Hardship Abyss, and in the end, cultivated to the rank of Mo General. Later, this Mo skill landed in the hands of a king. He changed the Hardship Abyss, and bestowed it to one of his personal guards. This Mo skill therefore changed its name to Hardship Guard. Pu Yao proudly introduced. The greatest specialty of this Mo skill is that it is suitable for Mo that do not have outstanding talents. Oh, this group of Xiao slaves is very well suited. In any Mo Jia, this Mo skill is high-level stuff. It can sell for a good price. These Xiao slaves really picked up a bargain. After Zhuo Mo finished reading Hardship Guard, he jumped in fright. Unless one had great endurance they couldn't cultivate this Mo skill, much less to a high level. Mo skills were based on hard work and persistence. The person that made this Mo skill really was perverse. He had originally been thinking if he could cultivate it. After reading it, Zhuo Mo decided to give up. This wasn't something anyone could cultivate. Pu Yao understood Zhuo Mo's misgiving. Normal people aren't suited to cultivate this, but these Xiao slaves have encountered many obstacles and hardships in their life, so they are actually very suited to this Mo skill. In any case, you just don't want them to use Jingshi right now. Zhuo Mo agreed with Pu Yao. In any case, he wasn't hoping that these Xiao slaves would accomplish anything. The Xiao slaves were reorganized into a camp called the Guard Camp. Zhuo Mo counted 1,000 people. He passed down the first chapter of Hardship Guard, and picked a few Xiaojia to supervise them before going back to his city construction work. After a few days when Gong Sun Cha returned with 800 captives, Zhuo Mo finally released a breath. The two exchanged a few words before they attended to their own matters. Zhuo Mo had to build the city, Gong Sun Cha had to organize the captives and make new groups, and consolidate what he learned, etc. The preliminary structure of the Golden Crow City caused everyone, including the captives, to feel excitement and anticipation. After continuous construction, the formation battle watchtowers of Golden Crow City reached 36 in number. They were tightly packed together, pointing towards the sky like sharp swords. Looking at these formation battle watchtowers that rose above the city walls, everyone was filled with the feeling of safety. The completion of 36 formation battle watchtowers meant that the Xiaojia of the camp could start to move in. Wei Qingbin followed Master Ji Wei into Golden Crow City, his expression excited. As he stepped into the city, a feeling of warmth surrounded him, feeling like he was soaking in the sun. The people in the surroundings sighed in amazement. What formation is this? It is so wonderful. Comfortable, way too comfortable. Even if you kill me, I won't return to that mountain cave. Worth it, it's worth it even if I die now. Hearing the discussion around him, Wei Qingbin suddenly felt his nose was sore and almost cried. He hurriedly lowered his head to disguise his state. When he raised his head, what he saw was a flash of tears at the corner of Master Ji Wei's eye. For people like him, the Golden Crow City in front of them was the final dream in their hearts. One after the other, the formation battle watchtowers covered in complex formation scripts appeared in their vision, causing them to sigh in amazement again. Everyone's hearts was instantly comforted. The enormous group of formation battle watchtowers seemed to be announcing their power and gave them a strong feeling of safety. Alright, move quickly. Master Ji Wei bellowed at the top of his lungs to wake the group of people up. We need to go first build the places we will be living in. Otherwise, we need to return to the cave tonight. Which one of you wants to return? Of course, no one was willing, so everyone hurried to start building. The Xiaojia that knew earth element spells usually were also skilled in building houses. The Xiuzhe of the forging division were never properly educated. Many of them had a pretty good earth element spell. Everyone work hard. Let's try to finish before dusk so we can have a little fun tonight. Master Jia Wei waved his arms with excitement. As Zuo had already divided out the different living districts beforehand, the camp was naturally the most important part. Gong Sun Cha first needed to reorganize the numerous troops under his command. He didn't interfere with the guard camp. He didn't understand the things Xixiang was doing with the guard camp. Just the Xiuzhe under his command were enough to give him a headache. He didn't want to break down the organization of the 6 divisions. These Xiuzhe cooperated very well among themselves. If new people were added, their offensive capabilities would decrease. However, Gong Sun Cha was not the same greenhorn that didn't understand anything anymore. He easily worked to reorganize. The 6 divisions were the primary force, and were under the command of Vermilion Bird Camp. The fact that the first camp created was called Vermilion Bird Camp, and not Black Warrior Camp, 1, was enough to express how much everyone liked Golden Crow City from the bottom of their hearts. The Xiuzhe that had comprehended essence and were led by Ma Fan and Xia Shan were put into one platoon, Sky Peak Platoon. What was a surprise was the Shield Guard Platoon was led by Zhong Ru. The main purpose of the Shield Guard Platoon was to protect Gong Sun Cha, and transmit Gong Sun Cha's orders. The remaining 2,000 Xiuzhe were divided into the eastern and western camps. In Gong Sun Cha's plans, Eastern Camp and Western Camp were the reserve that would provide talented Xiuzhe for Vermilion Bird Camp. In Gong Sun Cha's vision, Vermilion Camp would have 12 divisions, 1,664 people. Adding on the quartermasters and supporting Xiuzhe, it would be a full 1,500 people. There were just 6 divisions now, so it was only half complete. But he was also clear that Vermilion Bird Camp, which was skilled in ambushing, was not in great demand since they possessed the Golden Crow City. The most pressing matter at the moment was to train the Xiuzhe of the eastern and western camps to use the formation battle watchtowers. The reorganization calmly progressed. As to the guard camp, that was Xixiang's headache. Having finished his preparations, Gong Sun Cha quickly moved into the Golden Crow City. When the night came, Golden Crow City was very loud. The lanterns at the sides of the street filled the little city with brightness. From afar, it looked like a city that was floating in the air. Today was a holiday for everyone in the city. Many people cried from happiness. They finally had a place to rest, a place to shelter them from the elements. They finally had a place where they could relax and sleep. In the calamity-ridden little mountain Jia, Golden Crow City was one of a kind. Gong Sun Cha silently watched his subordinates celebrate. Those people that usually weren't afraid of death were sobbing like children at the moment. His heart didn't feel so good. He knew more. He knew the city was just to prepare for the big battle against the Clear Sky Old Forefather. From the moment it started to be built, the fate of Golden Crow City was set in stone. He pressed together his lips, quietly leaving the partying camp to find Xixiang. He found Xixiang at a formation battle watchtower. He was slightly shocked. As everyone was partying madly, Xixiang was staying by himself at the formation battle watchtower. Noticing Gong Sun Cha come over, Zuo raised his head. I'm trying to see if I can use the formation battle watchtower to nurture the sonic lightning walnuts. Gong Sun Cha became alert. Did Xixiang find something? It seems plausible, but I still need to test it. Zuo noticed Gong Sun Cha's low mood. What? Has Shidi encountered something unhappy? He understood the two Shidi very well. Qing Shidi was a person obsessed with animal keeping. While Gong Sun Shidi usually seemed vicious and murderous, but in reality, his mentality was not any different than Qing Shidi. They were both very naive and did not know worldly matters. I just saw they are so happy. But in the end, there will be nothing. This city is destined to be destroyed, Gong Sun Cha said dejectedly. Zuo was silent. He walked to the guardrail and looked into the distance. After a moment, he smiled and said, I hadn't thought such a violent person as Shidi would be so sentimental. He paused slightly, turned his face, and said seriously, "Little Mountain Jia is a cage. Can there be a paradise in a cage? What we want is to survive because we understand that if we cannot escape the cage, we will die. It is like using warm water to cook a frog, we will be cooked slowly. Among them, some understand and some do not. Those that understand are not willing to think. Why? They feel if they can live one more day, it is one day." Suemo said in a deep voice, "But I don't think the same. I would rather to use those miserable days to trade for a chance to escape. Golden Crow City has never been a paradise. If we succeed, even if this city does not exist anymore, they will still be able to find their paradise." Suemo said resolutely. Gongsun Cha raised his head. The depression on his delicate face swept away cleanly. Those eyes that were usually covered in killing intent and people could never see into were so clear now there was no impurity. The two exchanged a look, and smiled at each other. 1. The vermilion bird is one of the 4 sacred/benevolent animals of Chinese culture. It is actually a 5-colored bird, not just one color. Its element is fire and the cardinal direction it represents is the south. Black warrior is another name for the black turtle. Its cardinal direction is the north, and its element is water. In mythology, the black warrior is made of 2 entities, a tortoise, and a snake who are 2 great generals. Due to the origins, Xian Wu would usually be a much better name for a military troop. Chapter 264, The rudimentary form. Taking advantage of the fact that the old forefather was in seclusion, He Xiang concealed the matter. The other people also knew this matter had created too much of a mess. If it was revealed to the top, everyone would die, so they all kept their silence. Their greatest losses this time were the 5 slave transporting boats. The value of the 1,000 Xiu slaves was very limited. They were still able to afford the compensation for 5 slave transporting boats. Yet, the loss that made them want to spit blood was that many of the bosses that they had finished negotiating with had died in this ambush. The agreements that they had made had become a waste of effort. These factions would enter a period of chaos, reform, and choose a new leader. This meant that their work would drag on for a longer period of time. This damned group of hooligans. If he caught them, he would definitely tear their bodies to pieces. He Xiang gritted his teeth. Thinking of the factions that were in chaos, he felt his head ache. He suddenly found that from the time he had become the chief elder of the outer hall, an unfortunate sequence of bad luck had followed him. Nothing had gone smoothly. What he needed to consider now was whether he should intervene in the internal conflict of these factions. There was not much time left for him. If he could not complete this matter before the old forefather came out of seclusion, he would lose all of his chances. All of the formation battle watchtowers lit up. The warm silver lights were very beautiful in the night. 7 sonic lightning walnuts were floating at the top level of each formation battle watchtower. They were bobbing like they were in water. They occasionally flew around the interior of the watchtowers. The ceiling and walls of the towers continued to release silver dots of light. These mist-like silver dots of light would then be absorbed by the sonic lightning walnuts. Suemo carefully inspected every sonic lightning walnut that was being nurtured in the top level of the watchtowers. The formation battle watchtowers were carved with the Yin Fiend hard lightning formation. These dots of silver mist that looked harmless contained minuscule amounts of hard lightning. After being nurtured like this, the power of the sonic lightning walnut would be even greater. The construction of the city was only half completed. The remaining half was the most difficult part. In the watchtower at the very center of the Golden Crow City, Suemo started to dig down into the soil. He incinerated the evacuated soil using Golden Crow fire. His body had entered the second maturation. The noise of this maturation process was much less noisy than compared to the first time. The improvement of second maturation was not as evident as first maturation, but he could still clearly feel the improvement of his body. Sky Glass Wave had improved to 19 revolutions from 18 revolutions. The power had increased, but there was no qualitative change. But what interested Mo was the Mo matrix on his body. Jade metal head was a Mo physique. After the second maturation, a faint Mo matrix started to appear. The Mo matrix started first on his chest and it was very faint. If Mo didn't carefully inspect his body, it was likely he would have missed such a subtle change. His skin had become black and glowing. The Mo matrix patterns were also black and very faint, so they were hard to detect. Mo carefully studied them for a while and found the Mo matrix that had floated out was not complete. Many places were far too faint and hard to decipher. He concluded that they must only completely appear after third maturation. He noted it down before going back to building the city. In the span of a few short days, Golden Crow City was completely revamped. The streets were abnormally clean. New buildings neatly spread out like a forest on both sides of streets. The style of these buildings were varied. There were green brick yards, brightly colored sharp-pointed towers. The shouja of Golden Crow City came from many different places. The only buildings that could not been seen here were the residences frequently seen in other cities to be floating in the air out of consideration for safety. The fruit trees on both sides of the street were tenderly green and heavy with fruit that gave off a tantalizing fragrance. All of the empty spaces like under the trees, and the corners of buildings were planted with flowers and grasses to make them attractive to the eyes. For these trees and grasses, all of the shouja that had knowledge of ling farming had joined in. Many kinds of birds had been enticed over. Vitality flowed in every corner. Nian Lu, who dragged a group of shouja back through hurrying day and night, gaped at the beautiful scene in front of him and lost the ability of speech. Bao Yi bowed to Lil Pagoda that was floating in front of him, his expression slightly wary. Pagoda Yi, are you hungry again? The chubby Lil Pagoda tried its best to produce a proud stance, but one could not bear to look at it. Behind it, Silly Bird raised her head and pushed out her chest, her stomach tightly stretched and fat. The half-lidded eyes didn't show any intentions of properly looking at a person. On top of Silly Bird's head, the antenna of Lil Black restlessly waved as it looked around. Bao Yi didn't dare to laugh. He didn't dare to offend the three little ancestors in front of him. He really didn't understand. These days, could talismans, steeds, and worms become so intelligent? The three formed a troop and would come at intervals to sweep the stores. The weirdest one was Lil Pagoda. It would swallow anything. Talismans, materials, all of it would go to its stomach. But Boss was very lenient with them, and had told him to give the talismans that could not be used to Lil Pagoda. To a miser like Bao Yi, this was akin to carving the flesh out of his heart. Even though he knew that there wasn't much value in those talismans, but the smallest grain of rice was still food. Watching as they all landed in Lil Pagoda's stomach, and not having the smallest piece of jingsher come out, his heart bled blood. Wastrel. Such a wastrel. Unconsciously, Lil Pagoda had become Bao Yi's greatest enemy. Of course, he didn't dare to show the enmity that was in his heart. Lil Pagoda was deeply favored by Boss. If working under Mo previously had been a decision made out of helplessness, then his heart was truly loyal now. He had never heard of a person so strong they could build a city like this by themselves, much less seen one. Right now, he seemed to understand why an expert like Xia Shan would willingly serve Boss. Look at the strong offensive abilities under Boss command. Oh, the god of wealth up high, he, Bao Yi, had never thought he could personally see such a strong and vicious troop. He didn't believe there was anyone that had the power to pose a risk to them in Little Mountain Jia unless Clear Sky Old Forefather personally came. He admired Boss very much for this point. Boss had opened up his provisions of jingsher for his subordinates. The troop of 700 people used 3,500 third-grade jingsher a day. If it was converted, it would be 7 pieces of 4th-grade jingsher. 7 pieces of 4th-grade jingsher daily. Whoa! He had almost fainted when he had first learned this. Even in Little Mountain Jia where jingsher was not worth much at present, it still was not a low number. He felt a compelling pressure. The talismans that they had gained were not able to be sold. Now that the city was constructed, he needed to think of ways for Boss to start doing business. Otherwise, if they just fed off of their savings, then in the long term, they couldn't sustain it in the future. Just as he was wandering in his thoughts, he saw Lil Pagoda waving in front of him. He hurriedly refocused and suddenly found that a line of puppets had formed behind the three. Puppets. As an experienced merchant, Bao Yi had worked with all kinds of talismans, and naturally seen puppets before. Truthfully, from his angle, the construction of these copper puppets were very rough. Copper puppets were just one step above paper puppets, but still were very common mainstream items. He twisted his mouth. This kind of copper puppets couldn't sell for a good price, even if he was the one doing it. However, it was possible to see that the person who had designed these puppets had put in a great deal of thought. These puppets were designed for mining. The bottom half of their bodies were jointed in sections like a snake. That would allow them to adjust to all kinds of uneven terrain. The top half was shaped traditionally like a person, but there were 4 arms instead of 2. The puppets lined up neatly, each puppet carrying on its back a cloth bag that was larger than their bodies. Bao Yi lost some of his disdain. These puppets may look ugly, but they were very strong and were pretty good puppets. He watched as these puppets came in, and put down the cloth bags on their backs. Bao Yi quickly found a little mountain pile up in front of him. This. Pagoda Yi, what is all this? Bao Yi carefully asked. Lil Pagoda bent its chubby body and acted as it was talking. Bao Yi swallowed and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He asked uncertainly, is it to let me see? Every time he faced Lil Pagoda and the other two, it was as though he was facing an enemy. He regretted not learning how to play charades when he was young. Lil Pagoda nodded. Bao Yi released a breath. He hadn't guessed incorrectly. He hurriedly ran over and opened the cloth bags. The blinding light of Jingsha reflected on his dumbstruck face and filled the room with light. Lil Pagoda ran in front of Silly Bird to ask for praise. Silly Bird used her wings to brush Lil Pagoda. Lil Pagoda instantly became happy, and hurried flying to the front to lead the way. This guy was very clever. They had become familiar after coming here a few times. With Lil Black on top, Silly Bird walked its proud stride and floated off as she brushed past the stunned Bao Yi. Shu Long was the highest-ranked supervisor of the guard camp. He was an old Shio slave. Differing from the many people who had just been captured, he had already passed through 5 owners. This caused him to hold great authority among this group of Shio slaves. He scanned the camp. Everyone was furiously cultivating. He couldn't help but give a satisfied expression. He was full of gratitude towards his present owner. Only Shio slaves that had passed through many owners would deeply appreciate how much the present situation was like paradise. He had actually received favor from Master to command the guard camp. He was full of excitement and terror. He was happy that he could help Master, but terrified that he would ruin the matter. What he hadn't expected was that Boss didn't get them to go work, but had them cultivate. Cultivation was very good. Even though he didn't know much, but he knew that cultivation was value. However, he couldn't help but worry. Master's action was benevolent, but in the eyes of other people, he was a wastrel. Who would let Shio slaves cultivate? He had never heard of something so absurd. But since Master had ordered it, he could only do his best to help Master. Sometimes, he couldn't help but fantasize that some experts would be produced out of the guard camp and serve Master. It would be worth it even if he died. Master had kept them, and allowed them to cultivate. All of guard camp were holding their breath. What Shu Long was most afraid of were the new slaves. New Shio slaves only had hatred in their minds. In their eyes, all Shouja were enemies. He had also once walked that road. Shu Long, get them to come one by one. I need to inspect their progress. A thought came from the necklace on his neck. His mind became alert. Cultivating was so strange. This necklace of his should probably be a talisman. Yes, he hurriedly responded, and rang the large drum. In the sea of consciousness, Puyao interestedly played with the necklace. The little toys that Zuo forged had some usefulness. Making a troupe that cultivated Mo, how interesting would something like that be? Chapter 265, Silly Bird's Shocking Change. Silly Bird swallowed down a piece of gray mud. This was a ball of gray mud that Lil Pagoda had just spat out. Lil Black had no interest in the gray mud. Silly Bird was the only one that liked it. The three of them had a great relationship, especially as Silly Bird occupied the position of leader with a proud and matter-of-fact attitude. The other two little ones were very obedient towards Silly Bird. So whenever Lil Pagoda had the chance, it would skip to give the gray mud it spat out to Silly Bird. Zuo had been very busy recently. Where would he find the time to take care of them? If he knew how much of the gray mud Silly Bird had swallowed, his heart would definitely bleed. That was so much jingsher. Silly Bird didn't have any intentions of being frugal and swallowed the gray mud as though it was her right. The talismans that were collected were of much higher grade than before. Previously, the majority had been second grade, but now it was third grade. The storage were filled with a large amount of third-grade talismans. Since they couldn't find buyers for them, and the Shouja couldn't use them, all of them had entered Lil Pagoda's stomach. Just by looking at Lil Pagoda's fattened figure, it was possible to see how good its recent days had been. Silly Bird had also received benefits along with Lil Pagoda. What was unexpected was that Silly Bird suddenly had a painful expression, all the feathers on its body were shaking. A faint whirlwind started to appear around its body, and spin continuously around her. Lil Pagoda and Lil Black instantly became nervous. Some gray energy threads suddenly appeared under Silly Bird's wings. As though they were alive, these gray threads of energy climbed and wormed their way up her wings. Her pain seemed to increase as her body shook more fiercely. The gray energy quickly spread over her body at a rate visible to the naked eye. In an extremely short period of time, the gray energy had spread along her long slender neck until it reached her eyes. Honk! A sound filled with pain caused Lil Pagoda and Lil Black to freeze on the spot in fright. Pew! An extremely small sound as though something had been lit. Silly Bird's entire body was wrapped in an extremely thick layer of gray mist. Looking at her from afar, she seemed like a roiling cloud of mist. Threads of gray energy spread out from the cloud, and entered the whirlwind that was swirling around her body, pulling out thin gray threads in circles. The gray thread circles increased in number until there appeared to be an invisible silkworm spinning silk. The dense layer of gray thread continued to dance around Silly Bird and gradually formed a gray silk cocoon. At the very center of the gray cocoon was a ball of mist that continued to spew gray smoke. Honk! The painful sound seemed to come from the bottom of the heart. Bao Yi, who had been disturbed, changed expression. Lil Pagoda and Lil Black were so scared they lost their minds. The gray cocoon suddenly flew into the air, leaving behind a gray shadow, as it disappeared into the horizon. Zuo Mo, who had been working on the city's construction, suddenly changed his expression. Damn it! His legs pushed off as he flew into the air. I'll sort you all out when I get back. Zuo Mo's furious voice passed back. Everyone at the ground looked at each other in ignorance. After a while, Xia Shan tried to ask Gongsun Cha, "Boss, should we send someone to follow?" Gongsun Cha glanced at the people that were yearning to go. Do you guys want to slack off? Don't even think about it. All of you, stay alert. Every one of you added together wouldn't be a match for that woman. The other people instantly faltered. They remembered that the female Xiao who always followed boss was a terrifying existence. Zuo hurriedly followed in pursuit. Silly Bird that was wrapped in the gray energy flew extremely fast. He used all his power and could barely manage to keep up. He was both furious and panicked. Little brat, when Ji catches up to you, just wait. Lil Pagoda was connected to him. In an instant, he had known what had happened. The more he thought, the angrier he got. Gu was working hard and was so tired, and you guys made trouble, you guys don't want to live. His mind prepared the series of tortures that would occur once he caught Silly Bird. It may have been due to the stimulus from his rage, his speed increased by another faction. The thunder-flowing light wings were pressed to their limits. He was like a bolt of lightning. No matter how fast he flew, the female Xiao managed to follow without any effort. But at this point, Mo didn't have the attention to spare. His mind only had one thought: faster. Faster. Even faster. All of his mind was engrossed in operating the thunder-flowing light wings. After building the city, from the Fiend Hard Lightning to the 36 Hard Lightning Formation Battle Watchtowers, without noticing it, his understanding of lightning had reached another level. Flowing light was a kind of lightning. Very quickly, he comprehended it and grasped the trick to it. The light of the thunder-flowing light wings exploded. The wings disappeared. They became a ball of lightning that wrapped around Mo. His speed increased yet again. Boom! As the lightning flashed across the sky, it gave off a heart-shaking vibration. The sound was small, but it passed into the distance. However, after chasing for several hours, Mo still lost Silly Bird. No matter how much he accelerated, he could only watch as the gray shadow distanced itself from him and gradually disappeared. Do you know where she went? Mo stopped abruptly and asked the female Xiao. The female Xiao stood to one side silently as though she hadn't heard anything. Which direction? Tell me. Mo awkwardly added on hand motions, his voice extremely panicked. The female Xiao was like a statue and did not speak. Speak! Mo suddenly raged. The female Xiao was not affected, and did not move. Looking at the female Xiao silently gazing at himself, the furious Mo suddenly calmed down, the anger in his eyes disappearing bit by bit. Sorry, I lost my temper just now. Mo sincerely gave an apology. Even though he knew the other could not hear it, he had lost control of his temper. Calm, he needed to be calm. Pu Yao, do you know which direction she went? Mo entered the sea of consciousness to ask Pu Yao. Just now, it was to the east, Pu Yao said with helplessness. My strength has been greatly used up, the range of my consciousness is much smaller than in the past. Towards the east. Mo did not hesitate to keep on flying towards the east. That damned silly bird. When Ge catches you, Ge will pluck you clean. How will you fly then? Mo thought hatefully. He continued to channel Ling power to maintain the thunder-flowing light wings as he flew across the sky. Fortunately, his body had strengthened greatly in the past while. Of his body, consciousness, and Ling power, the improvement of his Ling power was not as visible as his body, but the recent progress was not ordinary. His Ling power had reached 25 Jing, only 5 Jing away from the second stratum. What Mo didn't know was how shocked the world would be if he spoke of such a crazy progression speed. In each stratum, preliminary growth would always be rapid, but the rate would become slow as they got closer to the peak of the stratum. 5 Jing of cultivation didn't seem like much. However, many people would expend 3 years, 5 years, or even longer on these 5 Jing. Mo knew that while his cultivation growth rate had slowed, but the decrease was much smaller than normal Shouja. He didn't know if it was caused by the Mo physique or something else. At this time, he didn't have the attention to spare. He gathered his Ling power and flew with all his power towards the east. Flying without rise until sunset, there was still nothing to be found. He looked in all directions, there were no traces. Mo's expression became dark, and couldn't control himself from swearing, damn it. However, his Ling power was now completely used up. He had no energy to keep flying and could only land. Taking out a few pieces of Jingshi, he made a primary replenishing formation before meditating to recover his Ling power. After reconstructing the Mo physique, the previous formations on his body had been destroyed. However, this Mo physique could automatically filter the impurities in the Ling power. Suemo patiently processed the Ling power he absorbed. Even though the Ling power that was absorbed did not have impurities, they were purer if he processed them and easier to control. After 2 hours, Suemo opened his eyes again, a light flashing in the dark. Just as he stood up, the Jingshi on the ground exploded into ball of dust. This is troublesome. Suemo flew into the sky, and muttered with a grimace after looking around. The night was dark, and the coldness seeped into the bones. The cloud layer was very low, dark without any light. Suemo decided to fly up. After a moment, he struggled out of the cloud layer. The last bit of clouds were thrown behind him, the vast sky appearing in front. All of the stars were so bright, densely covering the entire sky. From the ground, the cloud layer looked endless. Under the starlight, it was like a black ocean. Between this cloud ocean and the stars, he was the only person. He had never seen such a beautiful scene before. He was entranced for a while. A moment later, he woke up. Looking at the female Shio that was silently floating beside him, his mood became slightly better. He said to her with a smile, "Silly bird is somewhat dumb, but silly birds usually have silly luck, she shouldn't be in trouble this time." He knew that the female Shio could not hear. Speaking this was just to comfort himself. Suddenly, a few dots of light appeared in the sky. Suemo was instantly alerted and turned his head around. It was a sword light. Suemo was not unfamiliar with sword lights. These were the lights that were usually created when sword Shio flew on their flying swords. These sword lights came extremely quickly. Almost in the blink of an eye, they went from the size of a sesame seed to a mung bean. Suemo could barely make out that there were 4 people coming, 3 male and 1 female, all of them sword Shio. Suemo's mind secretly became alert. These 4 people were not ordinary. Their speed as they flew on the sword was almost the same as when he would be using the thunder-flowing light wings with all his power. However, he didn't avoid them but moved forward. He wanted to ask the 4 people if they had seen Silly Bird. The 4 of them came very quickly. Suemo vibrated his Ling power and shouted out, "Please wait." The 4 sword lights stopped at a place 50 zhang from Suemo. All 4 of them looked warily at Suemo. One of them opened, "Why has sire stopped us?" His tone was slightly unfriendly. Sorry. Suemo raised his hands and smiled with friendliness. This one's steed was suddenly alarmed. This one has chased for a long time, but has lost it. Stopping everyone is just to ask if you have encountered a gray misty cloud? The expressions of the 4 eased. One of them said, "We did just see a gray shadow pass by, but it was too fast, we couldn't make it out." Suemo's mind became alert. "Do you know which direction?" "That way," the person said as he pointed behind him. Suemo hurriedly gave his thanks, rose and flew in the direction the person pointed at. "Shixiang, you are?" the female Shio asked with puzzlement. They hadn't seen any gray shadow along the way. He, the person laughed darkly. "We can't capture that benefit, but we can't let the person named Huang and the others to get it so easily. Otherwise, when we go back to Clear Sky Sect, our branch wouldn't even have any room. This person's cultivation doesn't seem to be high." "I saw that he is only ning my first stratum," another person said confusedly. "Haha, we can silently follow behind. You will know when it is time," this person said confidently. "Maybe we can even take advantage of the chaos, and get some benefits." Chapter 266, A Little Harvest. After flying for about an hour, there were still no signs. Suemo calmed down. He knew that panicking was not useful. Based on Silly Bird's fierce flying, she probably wouldn't stop anytime soon. As long as the direction was right, he would find her. The gray mud that Lil Pagoda spat out was a smorgasbord of substances outside the 5 elements. He didn't know what change would come after Silly Bird had eaten so much. It would be good if nothing happened to her. He was very worried. Silly Bird was the first Ling beast he had owned, and he had a deep attachment to her. Even though she was very proud and had terrible habits, like showing off and not looking at people properly, but when he thought about the first time he was wounded, and Silly Bird had done her best to carry him back, his heart still was moved. Suddenly, an extremely fine sword light flashed 20 li away from him. Suemo was slightly surprised. It seemed his luck today wasn't so terrible. It required luck to be able to encounter other sword Xiao when flying in the air at night, especially with the drastically reduced population of Little Mountain Jie. Not even 1 in 10 remained, but he had met 2 different groups today. He was just going forward to ask if the other had seen Silly Bird when the sword light unexpectedly curved and flew towards him. Seeing the situation, Suemo didn't move and waited for the other. When the other flew close, Suemo saw his appearance. The person was an extremely young Xiuzha in his early 20s. The light glimmering Ling armor did not look like something average. His feet were stepping on a flying sword shaped like a Ling snake. He looked very carefree as he flew in the wind. Seeing the pride on the other's face, Suemo muttered inside. Before he spoke, he heard the other shout, "Hey, do you know 5 element spells?" Suemo instantly was discontent, his brow unconsciously furrowing. He speculated inside that this person definitely was a disciple that had just come out of the sect to gain experience. Surviving in the outside, just this kind of arrogant and brash tone was enough for him to die multiple times. "I know some." Suemo still planned on asking about Silly Bird, so he endured it. The person's eyes lit up. "Come with me." Finishing, he turned and left. Suemo rubbed his nose. Where had this Silly Bird came from? Oh, no. If Silly Bird knew that he had given her and the guy in front of him had the same name, she would be humiliated to the point of hitting the wall to suicide. The ignorance of the other caused Suemo to not know what to say. His mind suddenly moved. How could a guy like this have survived in Little Mountain Jie? The only place he could think of was Clear Sky Sect. Only Clear Sky Sect could have such an unworldly disciple. "You are a disciple of Clear Sky Sect?" Suemo asked, tilting his head. "Haha, you know that Yi is from Clear Sky Sect. Since you know, then obey. If Yi is happy, there's some benefit for you. If you provoke Yi, no matter how big Little Mountain Jie is, there is no place for you to hide," the person said proudly as he turned around. It really was meeting one's enemy on a narrow road. Since he knew the other was a disciple of Clear Sky Sect, Suemo didn't have any more worries. With a flip of the hand, a flying sword appeared. This flying sword was serenely green, with rippling waves and extremely nimble. This sword was called Serene Water Sword, peak of 3rd grade. It was even better than the water drop sword that Suemo previously had. Suemo would only pick the talismans that he liked or found useful from what they had captured and put them into his ring. His ring at this time was piled full with fine talismans and rare materials. This Serene Water Sword was just 3rd grade, but its entire body was forged from serene green water, and was rich in water element power. It was already the peak of 3rd grade talismans. With the Serene Water Sword in his hand, Suemo seemed to be walking on the ground in the air. Pia, taking a series of small paces. Wind rose when his feet touched the air. Suemo held no fear when facing a Ningmai. He had defeated Ningmai Xiuzha when he had been in Juji. Now that he had broken through to Ningmai, his confidence had grown more. Even more, his fantasy enemy during this period of time had been the Clear Sky Old Forefather. Compared to the fear of a Jindan, a Ningmai 3rd Stratum expert didn't seem so scary. His first attack was, Li Water Burning Heavens. In an instantly, the body of the Serene Water Sword was covered in water-shaped flames. These clear and transparent flames were like a piece of living crystal as it flickered. Compared to the flame of the past that had been multiple zhang long, the water-shaped flame was now just a short 1 qi, silent and serene. This meant that Suemo's sword essence was even more condensed and had improved. Li Water Sword scripture was only a 3rd grade scripture, but Suemo had comprehended sword essence. If he persisted in walking down this path, tempered his sword essence, and experimented with variations, he may be able to create new sword moves. Zhuemo had not expected the sword essence he comprehended the most of all the sword essences was Li Water sword essence and not Ice Dragon sword essence. In his hands, the sword scripture that was just a small third grade seemed to change. It was as though he did it without any effort. There was no pause. His little trot created countless afterimages, the sword in his hand serenely burning. A gentle slice upwards. There was none of the past explosiveness, or the sword essence radiating out, or the howling. As clear and serene as water, as bright as fire. A serene, light, and almost careless spark flashed. The face of the clear sky sect disciple changed greatly. He shouted angrily, "How gutsy! You dare!" The voice suddenly stopped. His expression changed greatly. A sword essence that was almost tangible securely locked onto him. Sword essence. He was actually an expert that comprehended sword essence. Clear Sky sect was also a sword show sect. He naturally knew the dangers, and understood that he had offended the wrong person this time. Among the Clear Sky sect disciples, only 3 of the Shixiang had comprehended sword essence. He had actually randomly encountered such a person. He was full of regret. The internal competition of Clear Sky sect was very fierce. The power of the Shixiang had long been impressed into his mind. Gritting his teeth, his hands swiped, and an extremely small light shot at Zhuemo. In the air, Zhuemo's figure did not move. His wrist flicked lightly, and produced a round wall of fire. The wall of fire was like a great net that caught the light. Zhuemo stopped his figure, and grasped at the air. The clear flame wrapped around the light that slowly flew towards him. Sky sand. Zhuemo's eyes suddenly lit up. Without any hesitation, he opened his mouth and spat out a thread of pure golden flame. It was golden crow fire. Once golden crow fire appeared, Zhuemo retracted the sword essence. The transparent flame turned to vapor and evaporated into the air. The golden crow fire drew out a line of fire and wrapped around the light. Golden crow fire, this Clear Sky sect disciple paled and exclaimed, his voice trembling. Once the golden crow fire wrapped around the sky sand, Zhuemo couldn't help but shake his head. It really was a waste of something good. Sky sand was the essence of earth element. This sky sand that was the size of a sand particle and was 800 caddies in weight. Such a precious treasure of the earth, yet the impression method was so crude. Zhuemo, who had always been frugal, felt his heart was in pain. The golden crow fire easily wiped away the formation on the sky sand. This sky sand revealed its original appearance. Square and symmetrical, it was an extremely precise cube. The color was deep gold. Entering his palm, Zhuemo felt his right hand was weighed down, and he almost dropped it. So heavy. A special ethy energy spread out. Zhuemo suddenly felt as though he was situated in dense sand. Good thing. Zhuemo was overjoyed, and instantly threw it into his ring. This piece of sky sand might be small, but it was a rare 4th grade material. If he could forge it well, he would have another good talisman. The Clear Sky sect disciple was dumbstruck. This particle of sky sand was his life-saving talisman. He gaped upon seeing the other easily subdue it. After a while, he managed to react, and swore, pointing at Zhuemo, you. After, ing for a while, Zhuemo didn't hear any further words and snickered. He examined the other from top to bottom. I really hadn't seen it. You brat, you do have some oil on you. What do you want? The Clear Sky sect disciple instantly panicked when he saw the greedy gaze Zhuemo had. I don't want much. Everyone should share good things. Zhuemo snickered as he spoke. A few yellow and red rope pieces appeared on his hands. Each red rope was just the thickness of a chopstick. Immortal tying chain. The Clear Sky sect disciple almost fainted. Coming out of a big sect like Clear Sky Sect, one could be unskilled at other things, but their knowledge and experience would definitely be stronger than those from small sections. That stack of red in Zhuomo's hands were all immortal tying chains. Immortal tying chains were the general name for a type of talisman. There was only one use for them, to tie up the enemy. The first impression he had of the immortal tying chain was that it was very valuable. Because it was to imprison the other, immortal tying chains were mostly woven and forged out of materials that were not easily damaged by flying swords. That would guarantee they were strong enough that the enemy could not easily break free or cut it. He had never seen someone taking out 8 immortal tying chains at once. Even more, he had never thought there would be a day he would have to face 8 immortal tying chains at once. You're pretty knowledgeable, Zhuo said. However, his hands were not slow, the 8 immortal tying chains flying out. Once the immortal tying chains left his palm, they grew to 10 zhang long. The 8 immortal tying chains caused it to appear as though the sky was covered in immortal tying chains. The other basically had no power to resist. After struggling for a few moments, he was tied up tightly. However, when Zhuo saw the gigantic rope egg made from the immortal tying chains making 8 layers around, he was dumbstruck too. He hurriedly took down the extra immortal tying chains, leaving behind one. When he saw that Clear Sky Sect disciple again, the other had already fainted. His eyes then lit up. This was a pretty good battle tactic. Immortal tying chains were 3rd-grade talismans, only had one purpose, and were very expensive. He hadn't noticed them before, only finding them somewhat interesting, so he had put them into his ring. The scene just now had made him realize the power of this move. One immortal tying chain was not strong enough, the other could dodge or escape, but the immortal tying chain had one benefit, it didn't require much control. When Ling power was channeled, each immortal tying chain would be 10 zhang long. 8 pieces of chain 10 zhang long was enough to create a secure and large net in the sky. Unable to be dodged or blocked. If he had to face such a thing, he couldn't help but shudder. Just having thought of a new tactic, Zhuomo's mood was very good. When he looked at the Clear Sky Sect disciple tied up like rice dumplings, Zhuomo's mood became even better. As expected, one had to leave the home. If they didn't leave, there would be no gains. His hand beckoned lightly, and the Clear Sky Sect securely tied up flew in front of him. Zhuo hummed a little tune and started to methodically plunder. No ring. Then he will take the clothes, oh no, take the Ling armor. Chapter 267, Ambush. Zhuo was very experienced and practiced. In an instant, the Clear Sky Sect disciple only had his pants left. The only thing he felt regretful about was that this guy wasn't as rich as he had thought. He had searched through this guy's entire body and hadn't found a second sky sand particle. This result clearly could not satisfy him. His hand opening slightly, water quickly gathered at his palm and formed a ball of water. Zhuo slammed the water ball onto the face of the Clear Sky Sect disciple. The Clear Sky Sect disciple slowly woke up. The coldness of his entire body made him realize in the shortest amount of time what had happened. He was like a pure little lamb, trembling and looking with terror at Zhuo. I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you answer them, I'll spare your life, Zhuo grinned, baring his teeth. This grin in the eyes of the Clear Sky Sect disciple was like a big gray wolf opening its jaws in front of him, flesh and blood still lingering on the sharp white teeth. He uncontrollably shuddered all over. He finally understood that this black-skinned person in front of him wasn't afraid of Clear Sky Sect. His mind was blank. How was that possible? How could there still be a Xiuzha in Little Mountain Jia that wasn't afraid of Clear Sky Sect? Looking at the other's dazed eyes, Zhuo became slightly impatient. His killing intent showed. Gu doesn't have the time to wait for you. The other shook and woke up from his daze. He swallowed. Darren, please ask. Please ask. Have you seen a gray shadow recently? Moving at very fast speed. Zhuo stared at the clear sky sect disciple's eyes. Gray shadow. What gray shadow? The eyes of the clear sky sect disciple was still confused. Zhuo's heart suddenly dropped. He had been staring straight at the other's eyes and knew the other had not lied. Had those 4 people lied to him? Suspicion rose. He said coldly, I just saw 4 people right now. They said they seen it, and was in this direction. I haven't seen, the clear sky sect disciple suddenly yelled, 4 people. Was there also a woman? Yes. Zhuo saw the other's expression and knew he had been tricked. Motherfucker. Lu Donghua, you bastard, you dare to make trouble for ye. The clear sky sect disciple that was swearing saw Zhuo's cold eyes, and explained, Darren, you were tricked. Those 4 are also disciples of my sect. They purposefully directed you over here to mess up our good matter. He suddenly closed his mouth. Good matter? What good matter? Zhuo narrowed his eyes. No, nothing, just that our Shixiang. Seeing the other nervously stammer, Zhuo didn't waste words, his hand grasping around the other's neck. The terrifying strength passed on from Zhuo's fingers caused his soul to fly out. He didn't dare to hesitate and rapidly said, it's a secret realm. A secret realm. We found a secret realm. The entrance to the secret realm needs Shouja that understands the 5 elements to open it. We don't have anyone that is skilled in the 5 elements. Lu Donghua and the others want to get a share, but were driven away by Huang Shixiang. So, hearing this, Zhuo finally realized. So it was a secret realm. He had been wondering why the clear sky sect disciples would run to Little Mountain Jie. Now he knew the cause, he couldn't help but grimace. His heart was stirred by the secret realm, but at this time, finding Silly Bird was more important. He then asked, where did you get this sky sand? Don't tell me there is only 1 particle. Humph. This particle of sky sand was bestowed when this one's master was alive. There is only 1. Seeing the disbelief on Zhuo's face, he grimaced and said, sky sand is the treasure of the sect, and produced by the sect's sect protector Ling Beast Crouching Soil Rhinoceros. 1 particle is produced every 3 years. Right now, the Crouching Soil Rhinoceros is kept by the old forefather, no one dares to think of obtaining it. You don't have this, you don't have that, you still want to lie. Zhuo said coldly. I. Frightened by Zhuo, this disciple instantly didn't know what to say. Suddenly, he became alert. Gray shadow. Gray shadow. I remember now. I didn't see the gray shadow you spoke of, but I heard a Shixiang mention it. Seeing the faint scorn on Zhuo's face, he was even more panicked. Really? I swear. I definitely am not lying. It was Lei Shixiang who said it. He said he had just seen a gray shadow. He thought it was a treasure that had come out of the earth and wanted to catch it. But the gray shadow was too strong. Lei Shixiang said that ball of gray energy was not something inside the 5 elements, and should be a treasure. Hearing this, Zhuo's mind jumped. Everything could be to fool him, but that phrase, not something inside the 5 elements, made him believe it slightly. Where did the gray ball go after that? I don't know, Lei Shixiang didn't say. What is he called? Lei Hao. How many of you are there? 22. Zhuo asked a few more details. This disciple didn't dare to conceal anything. After he finished questioning the disciple, Zhuo gave a satisfied expression, and his hand lightly squeezed. The disciple's neck instantly was snapped, an expression of disbelief still remaining on his face. Zhuo lightly flicked his hand, and threw the lifeless corpse into the cloud layer. He hadn't planned on letting this guy go in the first place. He and the Clear Sky sect were enemies. Even more, this was Little Mountain Jie. Only disciples like him that came from the sect would believe someone would let them live. The female Xiao stood motionlessly next to him. His mind suddenly moved, and his body sank down, hiding among the thick cloud layer. He turned and looked. The female Xiao was still beside him. Through the mist, he could only see a faint outline. Zuo smiled slightly. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he couldn't feel the female Xiao's presence at all, even though the other wasn't even a zhang away from him. This was always the case. No matter how much he scanned using his consciousness, he couldn't detect any bit of the female Xiao's presence. Many times, the female Xiao would give him the feeling of coldness. He could feel the strange power, but could not find the presence of life. Zuo took away his gaze, and took out the shadowless cape from his ring. Once the light shadowless cape was put on, his presence became fainter. After a while, his presence disappeared into the air. A while later, 4 figures arrived at Zuo's former position. He had stopped here for a time. There also seems to be that idiot Lu Hui's presence. Lu Donghua carefully inspected the surroundings, and gave a satisfied expression. It seems they already had a conflict. There is only the 2 of them. Huang Zhuoguang has more than 20. The shitty beside him shook his head. It could be seen the leader of the 4 was Lu Donghua. Lu Donghua appeared to be in his 40s, the light in his eyes hidden away. He chuckled. Maybe not. This person's strength isn't ordinary, and especially the woman beside him has unfathomable strength. Our sect's disciples are probably not a match. This strong? The 3 people all had shocked expressions. Lu Donghua's expression was solemn. Everyone, be careful, don't get into conflict with them. These 2 don't have common origins. Don't underestimate the Xiuzhe of Little Mountain Jie. They are used to killing, which we cannot compare with. The other 3 gave unconcerned expressions. On their journey, if they stated their identity as Clear Sky sect disciples, the other people either flattered them or had faces full of fear. Seeing the situation, Lu Donghua knew that he was wasting his words and did not speak further. We should be careful. Seeing the lack of concern on their faces, he slowly said, if Huang Zhuoguang and the others knew we are still chasing after them, everyone won't have good days in the future. When he mentioned Huang Zhuoguang, the other 3 reflexively gave terrified expressions. Lu Donghua looked at them, and prepared to speak when his expression suddenly changed. Careful. Several red shadows suddenly burrowed out of the cloud layer and leapt at them. Immortal tying chains, they exclaimed and hurried to summon their flying swords. Motherfucker, why is there so many? Don't use flying swords, use fire to burn them. Lu Donghua reminded loudly. Talismans like immortal tying chains were hard to damage with flying swords, but things like fire and ice were their enemy. The people that had planned on using flying swords to slice quickly dodged. The female Xiao took out a jade tablet. This was a beast service card. Its entire body was bright red as though it was made from fire jade. A bright red fox was nimbly depicted on the surface. Seeing her take out the beast service card, Lu Donghua and the others released a breath. The beast service card sealed a 3rd-grade firetail fox. This firetail fox had already produced a firetail and was perfect to subdue these immortal tying chains. But before he could rejoice, he suddenly saw the air behind Shimmy ripple. His face suddenly changed. Careful. Shimmy raised her head with confusion, not understanding why. A flying sword suddenly appeared 1 chi away from the back of the Clear Sky sect female Xiao's head. A smear of light flashed. There were no Ling power ripples, no sword moves, just a simple thrust. Pew! The Clear Sky sect female Xiao who didn't detect it didn't have the time to respond before the sword flashed, and her head separated from her body, a pillar of blood thrusting high into the air. Shimmy! The other 3 Xiuzhe were infuriated when they saw how terrible Shimmy's death was. Lu Donghua felt his head ring. Shimmy and he had had a good relationship from youth. Damn it! When he saw the person behind Shimmy, his pupils suddenly shrank. The fury and killing desire swept away, his heart sinking to the bottom. It was him. It's you. Lu Donghua gritted his teeth and said hatefully, I underestimated you. Zhuo sighed inside. This shadowless cape was really the best weapon for assassination. He had come so close to the other from behind and the other had not detected him. But it was a pity that if he moved, he would reveal his presence. To completely conceal his presence, it would need almost 2 breaths. 2 breaths were not a long time, but in battle, it was enough to be fatal. This caused the shadowless cape to have only one chance to attack, and greatly limited its usefulness. However, that was more than enough for Zhuo. As for Lu Donghua's hate-filled words, it didn't cause any ripple in his mind. As expected, this was a greenhorn. Facing the enemy and wasting so many words. Without the firetail fox, the other 3 instantly sank into an extremely reactive state. The 8 immortal tying chains were like 8 red snakes dancing in the sky and chasing after the 3 people. If one of them was brushed, even a little bit, it would be like a ling snake and coil around a person. These immortal tying chains were abnormally nimble and chased them tightly. For a Xiuzhe like Zhuo, who had high spiritual power controlling many talismans at the same time, was their most skilled technique. A viciousness flashed across Lu Donghua's eyes. He reached and took out a talisman. Chapter 268, 9-turn sky soil disc. Clear Sky sect was a sword sect, but it had other branches. Lu Donghua was a successor of one of those branches. His branch specialized in earth element spells, but their branch had declined in power. However, Lu Donghua was still able to establish himself by relying on a treasure, the 9-turn sky soil disc. The 9-turn sky soil disc was a talisman passed down from a jindan of their branch. Clear Sky sect produced sky soil. Even though sky soil was slightly less valuable than sky sand, but it was still a rare earth element material. Among the earth element materials, it belonged to the 3rd grade. This ancestor had used 9,000 caddies of sky soil, and entered into seclusion for 10 years in order to forge the 9-turn sky soil disc. The day the talisman had formed, the earth energy around all of Clear Sky sect had spread, and shook. Their sect had become famous. At the time, their branch hadn't been like it was now. That elder had been the 2nd most powerful expert in the sect. In the end, they lacked the support of profound spells. After this elder, the branch had gradually declined and became poor. When it came to Lu Donghua's generation, there were the 4 of them. This 9-turn sky soil disc had passed into Lu Donghua's hands. Generation after generation of forging lasting 400 years, this 9-turn sky soil disc had actually birthed a hint of cognition and became a 6th grade talisman. This was one of the reasons that large sects were so strong. Even sects like Clear Sky sect, who did not have relatively long histories or deep foundations, were not something normal sects could compare to. At this time, Lu Donghua was holding the 9-turn sky soil disc in his hands. His expression was stern, all the ling power in his body flooding into the disc. The 9-turn sky soil disc was entirely dark yellow and not at all eye-catching. The surface was covered in fine golden patterns on one side, the other with concentric circles, dividing the 9-turn sky soil disc into 9 parts. A golden palm was carved into the very center. A faint brown light rose from the 9-turn sky soil disc in Lu Donghua's hands. It appeared as though he was holding a ball of light. Boom, the light suddenly exploded. Zhuo felt the sky above his darken, all the starlight was completely covered. The surroundings were filled with yellow-brown earth energy that covered him like a mist. He instantly felt an invisible force squeeze him, his expression couldn't help but change. These minuscule yellow-brown dust particles around him were actually very heavy. Zhuo felt as though he was at the bottom of the deep ocean. The heavy pressure enveloped him, pressing on him so that he couldn't breathe. What talisman is this? Zhuo was shocked. He struggled to turn his head and saw the female Xiu. The female Xiu was silently standing in the yellow mist, her eyes flashing with a purple light that made Zhuo's bones shiver. Among the soil mist, the immortal tying chains seemed to have been stopped in midair motionless. Suddenly, the earth mist started to slowly flow. Suemo instantly felt the pressure increase. Ka ka ka. Light sounds came from the bones in his body. Suemo's body uncontrollably trembled. The shocking invisible force came squeezing from all directions. Suemo felt as though he had been dropped into a meat grinder. Pooh, what is this thing? Suemo hollered. It is an earth element talisman. You have to be careful, Pu Yao's voice sounded in his mind, containing a rare gravity. This talisman is at least 5th grade, possibly 6th grade. 6th grade. Suemo wanted to spit blood. Since when was it that Ningmai could bring out 6th grade talismans? And he had to meet one? Creak creak creak. The slowly flowing earth mist contained uncontrollable force, squeezing so much that Suemo's innards had almost condensed into a ball. Suemo watched helplessly as his body slowly flowed along with the slowly flowing earth mist. He stayed motionless, but his face had changed shape as though it could explode at any time. The 3 people from Clear Sky sect were not affected at all by the earth mist. If the mist neared them, it seemed to encounter an invisible wall and could not proceed further. Shixiang's 9-turn sky soil disc is so powerful. I think that in the sect, other than old forefathers' clear sky sword, then it should be Shixiang's 9-turn sky soil disc. Yes. When Shixiang cultivates bright soil scripture to the 5th level, even Huang Zhuoguang won't be a match for Shixiang. The 2 saw Suemo's sorry state, and laughed. This person is going to meet a tragic end. Shixiang liked Shimmy and definitely won't have mercy on this guy. If he doesn't grind this guy to meat paste, he definitely wouldn't stop. Shimmy has also died, oh. The other person couldn't help but be slightly depressed. When this affair is over, I'm planning on going to Sky Water Jie. Ah. Why are you thinking of going to Sky Water Jie? The sect is a mess right now, there's nothing interesting, he smiled mockingly. Anyways, I'm not a core disciple, the sect will let me go. The other person was silent. He suddenly noticed the female Xiao and was shocked. That woman is weird. The body of the female Xiao was covered in a faint layer of purple light. She seemed to be nailed to the air. No matter how the earth mist in the surroundings flowed, she did not move. The 2 of them were speechless from shock and gaped. The earth mist was fine, but it was forged from 9,000 caddies of sky soil. Any living being could not possibly resist inside the earth mist. The 9-turn sky soil disc was a 6th grade talisman, a talisman that Jin Dan used, and should not have appeared in the hands of a Ningmai. This woman was able to resist the 9-turn sky soil disc. Lu Donghua also noticed the female Xiao, shock flashing across his mind. He rarely used the 9-turn sky soil disc. One reason was that he was worried that other people would see it and become greedy. Another was that this treasure was naturally powerful, but it was beyond his cultivation. It was extremely hard for him to activate it. But of the few times he had, there wasn't a time he hadn't been easily victorious. He had never met someone who could resist. On the 9-turn sky soil disc, light flashed and circled on the outermost layer of the surface. This was the first turn of the 9-turn sky soil disc. After a while, the female Xiao still remained motionless. Even the dark male, who seemed quite disheveled, was also struggling to resist. A bad feeling appeared in Lu Donghua's heart, but he didn't believe the 2 people could resist the second turn's power. In this short while, a third of his Ling power had been consumed. He knew that he had to activate the second turn immediately. Otherwise, even if he wanted to activate it, he wouldn't have enough Ling power. He closed his eyes, and the second circle of the 9-turn sky soil disc lit up. The earth mist suddenly became dense. Before, it had only been a hazy earth mist. Now, the density multiplied, and the color turned dark. The 2 Shidi were shocked and their expressions became serious. The 2 knew that Shixiang had activated the power of the 9-turn sky soil disc's second turn. The earth mist was extremely dense, so much that one could not make out their fingers. The dust in the air was irritating to the nose. The earth element power was so rich it was almost tangible. Suemo felt the pressure multiply again. He couldn't control himself from wailing, and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. As the blood landed in the earth mist, it was ground into minuscule particles and mixed among the earth mist. A frightening hint of red appeared in the brown earth mist. The terrifying power slowly flowed. His body seemed to feel it was crushed between two mountains. The terrifying pressure could not be avoided and made him helpless. Under the shocking burden, every blood vessel, muscle, and bone of his body were on the verge of failing. Death was so close to him. It seemed to be next to his face, coldly staring at him. Zuomo's mind was blank. Enormous pain and hopelessness filled every corner of his body. Calm and clarity had disappeared completely. The only thing Zuemo possessed was the most basic instinct to survive. Ah 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 ah! Zuemo furiously shouted. Spells, tactics, in this instant, they were all forgotten. Ling power and the consciousness was furiously channeled. The power of every muscle in his body was pushed to their peak instinctively. The earth mist felt Zuomo's intention to resist. The surrounding earth mist flooded towards Zuemo, the flowing rate increasing and the pressure suddenly mounting once again. Zuemo had completely lost all of his senses. He was in his death throes, but since his body was restrained by the earth mist, he couldn't move. The light flashed on his body, sometimes sword essence, then fire, then fist energy, then hard lightning. The color of his body continued to change. It would be pure golden yellow as though it was made from gold, then it would be like black and shining jade, clear, and then there would be threads of black energy burrowing about. Inside Zuomo's body, the 5-element glass bead also detected danger and automatically activated, 5-element power spreading into Zuomo's body. Ah 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 ah! Zuemo went completely berserk, his features twisted. He was like a wild beast trapped in a cage making his final struggle, ferocious and crazy. Zuomo's body became a chaotic battlefield. He couldn't even move a finger, and couldn't send out any spell. All kinds of forces randomly flowed through his body and rampaged. Adding on the pressuring power from the outside, it turned to a mess. Damn it! Pu Yao's expression changed. The entire sea of consciousness relentlessly trembled, showing signs of collapse. The immortal tying chains that had been stuck in the mist and could not endure such strong power, they were ground into dust. The female Xiao had noticed Zuomo's state. The purple light surrounding her shot up, and her entire person seemed to be covered in a ball of purple fire. The eerie purple fire was not affected at all by the earth mist, and flickered eerily. That pair of fine and perfect jade feet, with extremely slow speed, rose up. The mask could not endure such a strong pressure. Pia, it turned to dust, and revealed that ugly and scabbed face. The female Xiao still did not have an expression. Pia, the dense scabs on her face could not endure the pressure, and exploded. Ball after ball of blood flowers blossomed on her face. In the blink of an eye, no part of her face was whole, and was completely covered in blood. She did not attend to it, allowing the blood on her face to slowly drip down and off her chin before being swept away by the mist to become a bloody mist. The purple fire rose again. The eyes that were flashing with the purple light actually dimmed down at this time. Her face was expressionless. Every movement required her to use all her power. She could only slowly move bit by bit. There was just a zhang between the two of them. Usually, that would only require a step. Among the heavy and fatal brown-colored earth mist, a figure covered in purple fire slowly neared at snail's pace towards another figure. Chapter 269, Who the Motherfucking Are You? Zuomo was like a wild beast without any avenue of escape. The earth mist surrounding him was thousands of caddies heavy as it flowed. His body was uncontrollably swept up in the flow of the earth mist. The female Xiao stopped, raised her face covered in blood and looked at Mo, who had separated a bit more from her, before continuing to move forward. Those perfect and flawless bare feet stepped on the eerie purple fire, traveling slowly through the heavy and dense earth mist. Lu Donghua's face was as pale as paper. He had not expected these two people were so hardy. It was the first time he had used the second turn of the 9-turn sky soil disc. He had underestimated the expenditure of Ling power. Right now, he also had no way to back down. His Ling power was almost depleted, yet the two people were still resisting. Motherfucker, where had these two terrifying people come from? He had assumed that the female Xiao was immeasurably powerful, but the hardiness of the black male surpassed his imagination. There wasn't one disciple in his sect that could hold up under the power of the 9-turn sky soil disc second turn for so long. Not even Huang Zhuoguang could do it. What kind of weirdos were these two? His heart started to become terrified. He forced himself to calm down. He knew that there was no solution other than persisting. The black male didn't look as though he still had any capability to fight, and that female Xiao, while her face was covered in blood, shouldn't have been wounded heavily. If he took away the 9-turn sky soil disc, the two shitty wouldn't be able to stop this strange female Xiao with their abilities. The purple fire was very scary, but Lu Donghua guessed that it came at great expense. The two sides had entered a standoff to see who could last longer. The depletion of Ling power made Lu Donghua feel a weakness he never felt before. His face was as pale as paper, but he knew that it was time to go all in. Viciousness flashed through his eyes. A Ling Dan appeared on his hand. He did not hesitate to shove it into his mouth. Ling power suddenly exploded inside his body. A smear of red floated on his white face. The expressions of the two shitty changed. With this Ling primary Dan going down, Shixiang's cultivation would be damaged for at least 3 years. Shixiang was putting his life on the line. The two stopped breathing. They hadn't thought that a situation they were in control of would become one where they were risking their lives. But they knew the result of this would decide if the two lived or died. Shixiang, bring us over. The shitty that had been planning on going to Sky Water Jia after this battle ended suddenly shouted. The other shitty looked with slight puzzlement at him. Shitty, will channel Ling power to Shixiang. This shitty gritted his teeth and nodded. Right, we're in this together. Lu Donghua rejoiced inside and hurriedly cast the spell. The light flashed, and the two appeared beside him. He didn't have the energy to speak now. Seeing the situation, the other two shitty didn't waste words, each person reaching out to put a palm to his back. The three cultivated the same scripture, and the attribute of their Ling power was the same. Ling power flowed continuously from the arms of the two shitty into Lu Donghua's body. Lu Donghua felt that the Ling power in his body had never been so plentiful. His confidence growing, the light of the 9-turn sky soil disc brightened. Mo was like a wild beast at the precipice, howling angrily according to his instincts. Threads of black energy suddenly appeared on his body. The brown earth mist still was as heavy and murderous as before, but these hair-thin threads of black energy did not falter against the earth mist which could grind anything. As though nothing else existed, they climbed and squiggled on Mo's body. Immediately, they burrowed into Mo's body and disappeared. Just now, Mo's body had been very chaotic. Right now, there were only 2 colors left, red and black. A dark red alluring flame was swaying like the waists of the belly dancers. The black mist was as dark as ink and motionless. The two were clearly divided like 2 greedy beasts that consumed all the energy they encountered along their path. In a short amount of time, all the other powers that were roaming through Mo's body were swept away. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao sat with his legs crossed. The originally white and pale face had become even more pale. Beside him, the black clouds that always shrouded the gravestone had disappeared. The black clouds and the Yao fire were like 2 vicious beasts resting in Mo's body as they faced off. Mo's body calmed down. His consciousness also was slowly pulled back. Even though his body was still locked in place, but he could not feel the terrifying pressure of the earth mist any longer. Just having escaped with his life, Zhuo didn't have time to sigh in relief. He quickly found the red and black forces that were facing off in his body, and almost died. He knew the dangers. The dark red flame should be Pu Yao's power. Before, the vast sea of flame in his sea of consciousness had seemed like another world. Afterwards, it may have been that Pu Yao was wounded or for some other reason, and the sea of flame had disappeared. He also recognized the black clouds. It was the black cloud that always was around the gravestone. Compared to Pu Yao, who called himself a Sky Yao, the origins of the gravestone were even more mysterious. But Pu Yao seemed to be unwilling to speak of it. The connection between the Yao and the gravestone was extremely strange. They seemed to be enemies, but they were also very familiar with each other. He could never understand it. The viciousness and brutality of the two kinds of power were not disguised any longer. Just having escaped one calamity, Zhuo once again sank into a heart-racing situation. What Zhuo rejoiced about was that the two sides had not attacked each other. Without warning, the Yao fire transformed into an extremely slender thread of fire that burrowed between Zhuo's brows. The black cloud seemed like water pouring into sand, quickly seeping downwards. Zhuo could clearly see it was sinking into his bones. What were these two guys doing? Zhuo was somewhat angry. But before he could express his anger, the pressure came pushing back from all directions. Damn it! Zhuo suddenly gave a light exclamation. The pressure was still unable to be resisted, but it was not as painful as before. It seemed to be almost tolerable. Zhuo quickly discovered that it was not his imagination. Had something happened again to his body? This question flashed across his mind. Before he could inspect it, he suddenly saw a figure covered in purple fire out of the corner of his eye. All of Zhuo's thoughts suddenly stopped at that moment. His gaze was stunned. The female Xiao was close to him, the purple fire covering her entire body as she slowly inched over. What shocked Zhuo was her face, the face covered entirely in fresh blood. Blood was all over her face, so he could not see anything clearly except that pair of eyes that were slightly dim. Seeing the female Xiao move extremely slowly towards him like a puppet, for a strange reason, Zhuo suddenly had the impulse to call for her to stop. Who are you? Why? Zhuo looked dazedly at the female Xiao. For the first time in his eyes, the purple light didn't hold any kind of fear and darkness. Even though he didn't understand the reason, even though there were too many mysterious, but Zhuo suddenly understood she didn't have malicious aims. No. Looking at that face covered in blood, the steps as slow as a snail, she definitely did not have malicious intentions. She definitely had a certain connection to him, maybe they knew each other before. He didn't know anything, but at this moment, a certain chord in his heart was struck. His gaze landed on the blood-covered face of the female Xiao, watched as the blood dripped off her chin into the earth mist and beground into bloody mist before spreading throughout the earth mist. As he watched, for some unknown reason, anger suddenly rose in his heart. It was just a talisman. An indescribable fury suddenly filled Zhuo's chest. His eyes instantly turned entirely red, and two balls of fire could be seen to be bouncing. His body could not move, the pressure made him feel helpless. Zhuo started to channel his Ling power. The Ling power filled his arms and started to circulate with astounding speed. 1 revolution, 2 revolutions. 10 revolutions, 11 revolutions. 18 revolutions, 19 revolutions. The furiously revolving Ling power had no intentions of slowing down. The anger was like a flood. A desire to destroy suddenly rose in Zhuo's heart. The slowly flowing, awe-inspiring earth mist was such an eyesore to his eyes, such an object of dislike, so much so that he wanted to destroy it. Since the moment he had first opened his eyes, this was the first time he had such a strong impulse and desire to destroy something. 20 revolutions. 21 revolutions. The flame in Zuomo's pupils shook fiercely and were filled with craziness. 23 revolutions. The skin on his arms cracked open, marks of blood crisscrossing. 24 revolutions. Pia pia pia. Suddenly, blood exploded forth from the glass-like arms. The flame in Zuomo's eyes danced crazily like a deep sea of flame. His features twisted, the tendons bulging. Each fiber of muscle was trembling, each bone was cracking. Get up! Zuomo gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. He used all the energy in his body to push at his arms. Crack crack crack. He heard his bones crack. His eyes were all red as though he was insane. Get up! Blood streamed out of his fiercely trembling arms as they slowly moved upwards. The sea of flames in the deepest part of Zuomo's eyes grew and filled every corner of his eyes. He was like an enraged beast, bellowing angrily, "Motherfucking get up!" Aeawiawa. His arms suddenly sped up in their movement as though the restraint of the earth mist had lost effect. The glass-like arms, that were covered in bloody crisscrossing marks, rose up and slightly cocked back. Zuomo inhaled deeply, his fire-red eyes widening as he gathered the last threads of his strength. He was like a brutal prehistoric demonic god as his arms punched out. Motherfucking die. Two fists that appeared to be carved from glass left his hands. A dignified and stern face could be seen on the surface of each fist energy. Lu Donghua's expression changed. The two fist energies viciously entered the earth mist, flew straight for 3 zhang before suddenly exploding. Heavens! It was like someone had shouted in a low booming voice. The sound was like muffled thunder, like the beat of a drum, that made one's heart shake. The earth mist that had been flowing slowly suddenly started to roil. Lu Donghua and the other two simultaneously gave a grunt, blood flowing out of their noses and mouths, their faces pale. It was as though the 3 people had been struck by lightning, remaining motionless like they were made out of wood. 24 revolution sky glass wave. The earth mist suddenly disappeared, the terrifying pressure that could not be stopped also disappeared. Starlight once again fell onto Zuomo's body. The 3 people nearby suddenly dropped down like stumps of wood. The female Xiao that was no longer constrained took a step and appeared next to Zuomo. All of Zuomo's energy had been used up. His eyes empty, his body softened. The female Xiao picked him up with one hand. The face covered with blood was blurry. Zuomo's vision grew increasingly dark. He tried to open his eyes, and his mouth, his voice like that of a mosquito. Who the motherfucking are you? Chapter 270 Great Harvest. Zuomo slowly woke up, and saw the female Xiao meditating nearby. A layer of blood scabs had formed on the female Xiao's face like an ugly and terrifying mask. Zuomo noticed her presence and was slightly surprised. He couldn't help but speculate. Was she injured? After being injured, control over one's presence would lessen. However, his attention quickly returned to his own body. No great pain like he had imagined was present. His entire body was in comfort like he had just had a great nap, his body was filled with energy. He instantly detected a difference. The power inside his body was so strong that he felt it unfamiliar. It seemed that his body had broken through again. He hurriedly sank into his sea of consciousness to find Pu Yao. In the bare sea of consciousness, there was only Pu Yao and a gravestone. Ah, how come it's like this? Zuomo glanced around with curiosity. Pu Yao stared at him as though he wanted to eat Zuomo. Sweeping across the surroundings, Zuomo saw Pu Yao's gaze and jumped in fright. What are you doing? I didn't steal your Jingshi. Pu Yao snorted and didn't speak. His gaze still looked with unfriendliness at Zuomo. Zuomo thought of the dark red Yao fire, and then the black gravestone, and said uncertainly, that Yao fire and black cloud, it isn't that I don't want to give it back to you guys, those things, they can't be controlled, you know. As he spoke, Zuomo felt it wasn't right. His tone suddenly changed, his eyes widening, that's not right. I haven't even taken you guys to task. What do you guys mean? Ah. Is Ji's body a trash center and you can throw anything you want inside? Pu Yao almost spat out a mouthful of blood, and the gravestone that always remained motionless shook frantically. You. Pu Yao's eyes almost sprouted fire. After a beat, his fingers shook as he said, "Don't play dumb after getting the benefits." Suemo did not feel he was unreasonable in the least. He raised an eyebrow, and suddenly jumped up. Benefit? What benefit? Gu almost lost this little life. Before, when it was one of you that was messing around, Ji endured it. That's great now, you guys are even more outrageous, both of you going at it. Don't think that Ji doesn't know what you two are doing. Let me tell you, be good in the future. An antique that can't keep up with the times, an old rock that can't even fart, you guys want to get benefits from Ji? Ha, perish that thought. Suemo pointed at Pu Yao and the gravestone from high up, and started to swear. Pu Yao's face was filled with shock. When he managed to react after a while, his face turned red and then white. After his rant, Suemo snorted and left. After he exited the sea of consciousness, he suddenly remembered why he had gone to find Pu Yao and instantly felt bitter. He had just aimed to vent right there, and forgot his actual business. It was over. If he went to find Pu Yao now, that was akin to slapping his own mouth. Even though it was said that men could bow and kneel, but when he thought of Pu Yao's scornful expression, Suemo decided to wait a while. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao gritted his teeth, his face switching between green and white. Beside him, shadows floated from the gravestone. The figure that had been lightly depicted on the gravestone was now a pile of messy lines. Never has there been a Sky Yao that was humiliated in such a manner. Never. Pu Yao's bellow echoed in the sea of consciousness. The messy lines on the gravestone simultaneously lit up, countless black clouds sprouting out. In the blink of an eye, the black cloud roiled, brimming with killing intent. Suemo didn't know that he had forced the two guys in his sea of consciousness to ally together again. His gaze landed back on the female Shio. The female Shio's terrifying face covered in scabs didn't feel the least bit dark or terrifying in Suemo's eyes. He still didn't have too many clues about the history of the female Shio. The only thing he could think of was that she was connected to the past that he could not remember. But this was just his guess. There was no evidence. His gaze unconsciously landed on the female Shio's bare feet that were breathtakingly perfect. The first time he saw this pair of bare feet, he couldn't help but sigh with admiration. It wasn't that he hadn't seen the bare feel of other female Shio. Xiaoguo's feet had also been very beautiful, round and adorable. But the female Shio's pair of bare feet could only cause him to sigh with admiration. They were just too perfect, so perfect there was no flaw. It made an especially deep impression when such a perfect pair of bare feet appeared on a female Shio that was as ugly as a clown. But no matter how wonderful the bare feet were, they were not as good as going to find talismans. Suemo quickly moved aside his gaze to look at the corpses scattered in the surroundings. He instantly became excited. Taking spoils was a very wonderful matter, and to take from his enemies was even more wonderful. His first target was that soil disc that was enormously powerful. That thing was truly too strong. After personally experiencing the power of the 9-turn sky soil disc, Suemo could not think of any talisman that could rival it. Of course, what he remembered most deeply was Pu Yao's exclamation of, at least 5th grade, possibly 6th grade. What kind of world was this? As he sighed, he smiled as he picked up the 9-turn sky soil talismans. His consciousness probed, and was almost ground to pieces by the dense earth mist inside. He hurriedly withdrew his consciousness. Yikes! It really was 6th grade. Ooh! He struck it rich. Really rich. Suemo couldn't stop himself from dancing crazily. This time, it wasn't that he was someone who was not experienced. Right now, he did have some wealth, and a few 4th grade talismans on his body. In all Ningmai Shouja, he could be considered wealthy, but all the talismans and materials on his body added together could not compare with this 9-turn sky soil disc. If he took it out to sell, the jingsher would be enough to drown him. This kind of talisman was the kind that would be a sect treasure in any sect of Little Mountain Jie. How could Zuemo not be happy now that something like this had landed in his hands? After a while, he gradually calmed down, and studied it. He rejoiced in his good luck. The 9-turn sky soil talisman was very powerful, but it wasn't a talisman that Ningmai Shouja could use. The expenditure of Ling power was too much. Lu Donghua had a cultivation of peak 2nd stratum Ningmai, and was just able to activate it. With Zuomo's 1st stratum cultivation, he couldn't even activate it. In the short term, he couldn't use this talisman. Should he sell it or keep it? Zuemo thought and kept it. It was easy to sell talismans of this level, but it wouldn't be easy to buy another one. He hadn't used a 6th grade talisman before, but he was clear there was a chasm that was hard to cross between 5th and 6th grade. This 9-turn sky soil disc had been a 5th grade talisman when it was first forced. After more than 400 years, and generations of people nurturing it, it finally birthed a thread of intelligence, and became a 6th grade talisman. Carefully putting the 9-turn sky soil disc, he went back into his salvaging work. However, after seeing the 6th grade 9-turn sky soil disc, Zuomo's eyes couldn't be lit up by any of the other spoils of victory. After a while, Zuomo shook his head. These 4 people clearly hadn't done so well in Clear Sky Sect. Other than the 9-turn sky soil disc, they didn't have anything good, and were worse than the first guy he had scalped. It seemed that the two were not of the same group, and clearly, the guy he had scalped was much richer than this group. The female Xiao did not stand after a long time. This caused Zuomo to have a bad feeling. He walked next to the female Xiao, and laid a hand on her shoulder to inspect her body. The inspection instantly made him jump. The strange purple power that always existed inside the body of the female Xiao was so faint it was hard to detect. Her body had lost the restraints of the purple light, and showed signs of collapsing. Zuomo instantly realized that it wasn't good, unhesitatingly put the female Xiao on his back and leap into the air. At the same time, he expanded his consciousness. After flying for a while, he found a mountain cave. He hurriedly carried the female Xiao into the mountain cave. This was a normal cave that only had bats inside. When the two of them flew inside, they instantly alarmed the bats that flapped like a black cloud out of the cave. Zuomo cleaned out a patch of ground with a blow and carefully put down the female Xiao. He shoved a black processing meditation mat under the female Xiao. This move was visibly effective. Threads of Ling power burrowed into the body of the female Xiao and turned to purple light. After a while, the purple light inside the body of the female Xiao increased slightly in brightness. Zuomo saw the situation, and thought this wouldn't be over a matter of hours. After some thought, he set up a medium-sized primary replenishing formation around the female Xiao. It could continuously provide Ling power to the female Xiao. Zuomo found the purple light of the female Xiao was similar to the Mo matrix on his body and was not afraid of the impurities in Ling power. This allowed him to be daring in his actions. After guarding for a while, and the situation of the female Xiao had stabilized, Zuomo decided to leave. He needed to find Silly Bird. As more time passed, there was a lower possibility of finding Silly Bird. He left a jade scroll for the female Xiao telling her the direction he was going in. To prevent other people from disturbing her, he set down a circle of formations at the cave entrance. Illusory formations were locked and layered with killing formations. It wasn't just difficult to find, but if it was activated, it would cause a whole string of killing moves. Zuomo really invested a lot in creating it. The power of the killing formations he set down were very high. Under the interlocking killing moves, other than Shouja at the peak of 3rd stratum Ningmai, normal Ningmai could not escape. Even Shouja at Ningmai 3rd stratum would definitely be severely wounded if they didn't have some precious treasure or obscure method to shield themselves. Even though his heart hurt, but Zuemo still spent a large batch of valuable materials. After setting down the big formation and re-examining it, he looked worriedly at the cave before flying away in the direction that the Clear Sky sect disciple he had stripped clean pointed in. After flying for more than half a day, he suddenly met a large group of shouja. You! The shouja at the front pointed at Zuemo and said without any politeness, "Come over." Zuemo saw the apparel of this person was similar to the previous Clear Sky sect disciples he encountered. His heart moved, and he moved forward, pretending to be timid and saying, Is there something I can help with? I still have something to do. Come over and follow. That Clear Sky sect disciple pointed at the group behind him and said impatiently. What? You aren't willing to help Clear Sky sect? The other Clear Sky sect disciples beside him looked with hostility at Zuemo. Zuemo rejoiced inside, putting a fearful expression on his face as he silently flew into the group. Chapter 271 Opportunities. Zuemo did not stand out in the group. My first stratum shouja could just barely survive in Little Mountain Jie. Everyone was silent, but the Clear Sky sect disciples conversed freely. These days, no one cultivates 5-element spells. I heard that Lu Hui still hasn't responded, don't know where he ran off to. How is it possible to find a person that knows all 5-element spells so quickly? Lu Hui's brain has never been too bright. Qi Ji's method is best. We can find some more people to get all 5. Haha, Zuemo heard these people chat as though no one was around. A low voice spoke to him, Bro, what should we call you? Me? Zuemo pointed at himself, a face full of puzzlement. Haha, I see that this little brother's aura isn't ordinary and I desire to become acquainted with you. Sorry for the offense. The one who was speaking was a clever-faced middle-aged male. There were 7 or 8 people beside him. They looked to belong to the same group. Zuemo made up a fake name. I'm called Wang Hong, what should I call you? This one is Lu Gui. The middle-aged man bowed with folded hands, and probed, which side does Brother Wang live in? Zuemo parried, all over. He then pursed his mouth, Are these your brothers? Brother Wang has keen eyes. Lu Gui said with a smile. After this short conversation, he understood that he would not get anything out of Zuemo, and stopped conversing further. The expressions of those beside him were stern and didn't seem to be in the mood to chat. It wasn't just them. All of the people in the surroundings had worried expressions. Zuemo suddenly asked in a low voice, Why is everyone so docile? He couldn't understand. There were just 3 Clear Sky sect disciples, and they were able to herd almost 20 shouja. Lu Gui was shocked inside. Just now, he had seen the person hide among the group with an expression of fear, but he had now asked something like this. He didn't seem to be a coward. He said without expression, There's nothing we can do. They are from Clear Sky sect. Zuemo smiled and didn't respond. After a while, the more Lu Gui mused, the more he felt Zuemo's words contained hidden meanings. Seeing Zuemo maintain his silence, he couldn't resist and spoke in a small voice, What solution does Brother Wang have? Glancing at him, Zuemo said with a smile, What solution can I have? Lu Gui increasingly felt this young person seemed high and unfathomable. Before, he appeared weak, but he looked calm now, and unworried. Lu Gui had met many people. He trusted his eyes. The presence exuded by this person didn't seem like an ordinary person. Was this a powerful shouja? He flipped through all the famous shouja that he knew, but didn't find anyone that was similar. Because he was too young. Brother Wang looks very young, Lu Gui couldn't help but probe. You look to be in your 20s, so young, yet you are Ningmai, your talent is truly outstanding. Zuemo only smiled, and didn't say anything. However, what he didn't expect was that Lu Gui's words had stirred the attention of his fellows beside him. Usually, most of the people that broke through to Ningmai in their 20s were sect disciples. Men usually did not care much for their appearance. The price of eternal appearance Dan was not cheap. Very rarely would men spend that amount of jingshi. Consequently, it was hard to judge the ages of female xiu, but it was possible to see hints with male xiu. Zuo Mo's face was easily a very youthful face. However, the attitude that unconsciously revealed itself on his face had a maturity that surpassed his age. This one is Zheng Zhong, their Shixiang, the leader introduced himself. His words instantly startled the other disciples. They all raised their heads and looked with bewilderment at Shixiang. Even Lu Gui had a shocked expression. In their experience, Shixiang rarely spoke. This time, he had proactively spoken. They couldn't help but look at Zuo Mo. Nice to meet you, Brother Zheng. Zuo Mo bowed with folded hands. He didn't dare to underestimate the other. His consciousness was abnormally sensitive. This Zheng Zhong had his eyes directed downwards, but he was a Ningmai third stratum expert. In Little Mountain Jia, Ningmai third stratum Xiuzhe were the top experts. Experts like these may not be able to oppose Clear Sky sect, but they definitely were not people that a few Clear Sky sect disciples could order about. Unless they had other aims. Zuo Mo became wary. He didn't want to have uncontrolled factors influence his plan. He didn't care too much about the earthly treasures in the secret realm, but he was very worried about Silly Bird's safety. That idiot's intelligence was pitifully low. As a bird, she was arrogant and outrageous. It would be a wonder if she didn't get in trouble outside. Little brother's skill is not ordinary, this one is full of admiration. Zheng Zhong said seriously. The others instantly had shocked faces. They looked at Zuo Mo like they were looking at a weirdo. Zuo Mo felt slightly uneasy as he became the object of attention, and hurriedly said, "Haha, what is Brother Zheng saying? This one is just a first stratum newbie, everyone, please take care of me." Zheng Zhong did not refute it, smiled and lowered his gaze. Zuo Mo's hairs rose at Zheng Zhong's smile. He decided to stay a bit further away from this group in case trouble occurred. He was now sure that these people were after the secret realm. He didn't care about the secret realm, he only wanted them not to damage his plan. "Shixiang, I cannot see where this person is outstanding," a Shidi said, though a secret language. They could communicate through a secret communication method that others were not able to detect. Lu Gui glanced over, and said through the secret communication method, "I feel that this person's origins aren't simple. Look, he doesn't seem nervous at all." Zheng Zhong suddenly said, "There's killing intent on his body. He has recently killed at least 4 or 5 people." The others shook in fright. No way," a person stammered out. "Doesn't he just have first stratum cultivation? How can he kill 4 or 5 people at once?" Disbelieving expressions came onto the faces of the other people. It was hard to imagine a first stratum Xiuzhe killing 4 people in succession in Little Mountain Jie. First stratum was the lowest level of power in Little Mountain Jie. In other words, every person that he killed wasn't weaker than he was. One person killing 4 people that were not any less weaker than he was, it was extremely difficult to do. "Maybe he has a powerful talisman," one Shidi said through the communication method. "Don't cause trouble," Zheng Zhong said in a solemn tone. "This person's strength isn't simple. Everyone, be careful." Zuo Mo noticed these people occasionally glancing at him, and grimaced inside. Had he become a target of these people? That wasn't good. There were about 20 people in the group. Zuo Mo suspected that these Clear Sky sect disciples had stopped every Xiuzhe they encountered. He could occasionally hear these people talking, but those Clear Sky sect disciples never controlled them. After flying for 2 hours, they encountered 2 more Clear Sky sect disciples. One Clear Sky sect disciple said, "You guys are too slow. Huang Shixiang has been waiting for you, and also Lu Hui. We don't know where he ran off to, not taking care of business. He won't get a share this time." The Clear Sky sect disciple that had been hurting the group said, "That's great. Maybe we can get a few more items each." The other people laughed. "It seems you guys had a good harvest. Quick, Huang Shixiang has been waiting impatiently. Zhuo Mo's blood felt cold inside. These Clear Sky sect disciples really had great pageantry. It seemed that they really thought of Little Mountain Jia as their backyard. The group flew into a little mountain valley. The mountain valley was heavily guarded by Clear Sky sect disciples holding flying swords and talismans as though they were facing a great enemy. There were already about 20 or so Xiuzhe that had been gathered. Huang Zhuoguang stood proudly at a mountain peak, looking down at the Xiuzhe, and asked in a deep tone, "Have we found all the people that know 5 element spells?" Huang Zhuoguang had narrow eyes and long eyebrows, his nose was high, his chin slightly narrow. He was wearing a bright yellow Ling armor, a deep red cape on his shoulders, a copper circle tying up his hair. His hands were wearing dark blue gloves, a pair of tiger head boots on his feet. He looked extremely grand and warrior-like. He was the most outstanding of the second-generation disciples of Clear Sky sect, and belonged to the most powerful branch. He himself was the most favored disciple of Clear Sky Old Forefather, and undoubtedly the leader of the Clear Sky sect disciples. "We still lack someone skilled in water element spells," said a shimmy in a soft tone. She was wearing a goose-yellow palace robe, her eyes full of seductiveness. She said in puzzlement, "Shixiang, why didn't we get the outer hall to assist us? Wouldn't that be more convenient?" "The outer hall?" Huang Zhuoguang snorted coldly and said, "That group of trash, they can't even defend Nanxing village, how can they be relied on to help us?" "Ah!" The shimmy was very shocked. "What happened with the outer sect? Someone dares to make enemies with our Clear Sky sect? Humph. Who cares who they are?" Huang Zhuoguang narrowed his eyes, his voice was sharp and full of killing intent. "Just kill them. After this affair, we'll go right back." Master had given the outer hall to Yixiang. "I hadn't thought this guy who fails so badly. Master is in seclusion, as his disciple, it is naturally up to me to help share the burden." Shimmy looked with intoxicated eyes at Shixiang, feeling he was extremely magnificent. "You there, which one of you knows water element spells?" someone shouted at Zhuo Mo's group. No one responded. A cold smirk floated at the corner of a Clear Sky sect disciple's mouth, and followed, "Those that know water element spells, stand up and help us. We'll give you a 4th-grade flying sword as reward." He raised the flying sword in his hand. This flying sword's shape was very unique, like the fangs of a monster. Its body was made out of a material that was stark white. From 2 to 3 zhang away, it was still possible to feel the waves of killing intent clearly. Such a vicious weapon. Zhuo Mo was very shocked. This flying sword wasn't ordinary. Just the pure and keen killing intent was enough to make countless sword shio crazy. As expected, the crowd that had been motionless instantly exploded. "I know. Me. Instantly, 7 or 8 hands rose up. Zhuo Mo also raised his hand. He wanted to see what this group really wanted to do. He noticed that Zheng Zhong also raised his hand. He secretly glanced around him, trying to match the information he got from Lu Hui's mouth to the Clear Sky sect disciples he could see. His gaze quickly landed on the bright figure that was on a little mountain peak. The hero of Clear Sky, Huang Zhuoguang. Chapter 272 Huang Zhuoguang Clear Sky sect had many branches and many second-generation disciples, but no one could shake Huang Zhuoguang's position. Besides the support of Clear Sky Old Forefather, Huang Zhuoguang's strong individual strength was the most crucial factor. Before the change in Little Mountain Jie, Huang Zhuoguang had been labeled the most accomplished of the younger generation in Little Mountain Jie. The name of the Clear Sky hero had spread from that time forward. He entered Ningmai at 16. At this age, many people had just started Juji. At 17, he comprehended sword essence and quickly became the brightest name among the Little Mountain Jia younger generation. What truly pushed his fame to the peak was what happened during the calamity. At that time, the situation had been chaotic. Many people had attacked Clear Sky sect. At that crucial time, Huang Zhuoguang stood out, killing 20 people with his sword. The row of bloody heads were hung at the gate of Clear Sky sect. This action instantly shocked those Xiuzha that during the chaos and allowed the sect to hold out until Clear Sky Old Forefather returned. It had to be said that half of the reason that Clear Sky sect held its current position in Little Mountain Jia could be attributed to Huang Zhuoguang. That battle had let his brutal reputation spread throughout Little Mountain Jia, and firmly established his position as second in the sect under the Old Forefather. Huang Zhuoguang was brutal and domineering, but he did not lack cleverness. The other disciples were filled with respect and fear towards him. Since so many people had raised their hands, a competition was naturally required. However, what was being tested wasn't individual power, but who had the strongest skill in water element spells. The Xiuzha that raised their hands were asked to cast a water element spell. This wasn't a problem to Zuo at all. He casted the little art of cloud and rain, and a miniature white cloud floated 1 qi above his palm as it started to rain. As the drops landed on Zuo's palm, they disappeared. This pure and skilled water element spell instantly defeated the great majority. Zuo was slightly surprised by Zheng Zhong. Zheng Zhong did not speak, and lightly tapped a jade card hanging on his waist. A blue water dragon instantly came out. The water dragon was about 1 qi long, the blue scales on its body flashing with an enchanting light. It was extremely smart, a pair of dragon eyes curiously scanning the surroundings. A beast service card. Zuo was slightly shocked. He didn't know what kind of dragon this water dragon was. Maybe Qing Shidi would recognize it. Without a doubt, the grade of this water dragon, whatever its kind, would not be low. As the blue water dragon flew out, Zuo instantly felt that the water element power in the air thickened. The water dragon innately belonged to water. It was most skilled in water element spells. The disciple holding the white fang sword had a dilemma. Zuo might have cast a little spell, but it could be seen with a glance that his skill was not low. Zheng Zhong's water dragon was a natural expert at control of water. Both of you come up. Huang Zhuoguang's voice sounded at this time. Zuo's heart jumped. Huang Zhuoguang's voice was not loud, but it held an unique kind of pressure. He could be considered to be experienced now, but it was the first time he encountered an expert of Huang Zhuoguang's style. The only one Zuo felt was slightly similar was Changheng. However, there was a difference between the two. Huang Zhuoguang was dominating, and Changheng was vicious. If these two people fought, that would definitely be very spectacular, Zuo muttered inside. He noticed a Xiuzha with a pale complexion in the corner. That was Lei Hao, the person Lu Hui said had been wounded by Silly Bird. Lei Hao was Zuo's target. The two followed behind the disciple with the white fang sword. Huang Zhuoguang flew down from the mountain peak, and said to the shimmy beside him, "Tell them to prepare to start." The other people were herded away from this area. Go, none of your business here. In 5 minutes, whoever remains within 50 li cannot blame my flying sword, a Clear Sky sect disciple said maliciously. A change suddenly occurred. A sword light like a smear of snowy light suddenly shot towards Huang Zhuoguang. Many Clear Sky sect disciples paled. That sword light had been too sudden. The snowy and bright sword energy blinded them. The sharp sword essence was like countless shards of sharp snowflakes dancing. The shimmy beside Huang Zhuoguang paled. This bit of snowy and bright sword light filled every corner of her vision. Everything was white. In the blink of an eye, the sharp sword essence stole away her urge to resist. An extremely domineering sword light suddenly lit up. Ha ha! I just knew that there was a problem with you. Huang Zhuoguang laughed, and then his expression became cold. But to scheme against me, you aren't enough. In his tone, a strong confidence was expressed. Zheng Zhong's fellows moved at the same time, sword energies crisscrossing. These Clear Sky sect disciples did not have Huang Zhuoguang's strength, and the situation instantly became chaotic. The wails and panic of the Clear Sky sect disciples didn't cause Huang Zhuoguang to move away his eyes. He locked tightly onto Zheng Zhong and smirked, "Oh, so it is a third stratum. No wonder you are so gutsy." Zheng Zhong's eyes were not lowered and half-lidded as previous. In his calm eyes, killing and battle intent flashed. Huang Zhuoguang smiled, "Let's go up." Finishing, he flew into the air. Zheng Zhong did not hesitate in following him into the sky. Zuo looked right and left. No one was paying attention to him. Instantly, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, this was actually suitable for him to carry out his own affairs. He noticed Lei Hao panicking and wanting to flee. The Xiuzhe that had been captured were already filled with hate towards Clear Sky Sect, but due to Clear Sky Sect's might, no one dared to speak up. At this time, as Zheng Zhong moved, and the situation was chaotic, Lu Gui fanned the flames, deliberately shouting, "Flying sword! That flying sword! Don't let him escape!" Once those words came out, it stirred the hearts of many people. That flying sword had such pure killing intent. It definitely was a rare top of the 4th grade sword. Who dares? Wanting to steal something from Clear Sky Sect. You don't want to live, the disciple shouted with a stern expression. Lu Hui hid among the crowd and grumbled, "The daring die from overeating, the cowards die from starvation." Who knows who? Everyone thought. Yes, such a chaotic situation, they wouldn't know who stole it. Which Xiuzhe that had survived in Little Mountain Jia up until now was a friendly person? In a moment, dozens of sword lights howled as they shot towards that Clear Sky Sect disciple. Zuo, who had flown away, was also scared by the scene. He celebrated that he had left early enough. Otherwise, he would have also been affected. That disciple was both frightened and angry. Before he could finish speaking, he was chopped by tens of sword energies into pieces of meat, and froze Zuo's heart. Everyone instantly went to grab the sword. After a period of chaos, a Xiuzhe with good eyes and fast hands grabbed the flying sword before turning and running for his life. The Xiuzhe that didn't get the flying swords didn't let go of the other things on this disciple's body. The Xiuzhe that didn't get anything quickly moved their red eyes towards the other Clear Sky Sect disciples. They suddenly found that after losing the halo of Clear Sky Sect, these disciples were the best fat sheep. The situation became even more chaotic. After a few dashes, Zuo flashed next to Lei Hao and grabbed him as he was fleeing. Lei Hao was frightened half to death, his entire body shaking, his words nonsense. I give you everything." Zuo furrowed his brow, and raised his hand to slap him a few times to restore him to clarity. "I'll ask and you answer." "You, please ask." Lei Hao was stunned from the blows, and recovered from his soulless state. Even though he was still frightened, but he could manage to speak. Zuo's hands suddenly flashed, his left hand casting a young fiendish hard lightning. Hiss! It directly hit a flying sword. With a burst of blue smoke, and a clanging sound, the flying sword landed on the ground. A sword shio nearby gave a grunt. His flying sword ruined, his consciousness was also wounded. He looked in terror at Zuo, and stumbled as he turned to flee, not even daring to pick up his flying sword. Zuo didn't pursue him. This scene had been seen by many people. The Xiuzhe that had been charging towards Zuo all turned in fright and went towards other targets. Lei Hao, who was hanging from Zuo's hand, swallowed in terror. Heavens, how had he landed in the hands of such an expert? "What is with the wounds on your body?" Zuo asked word by word as he stared at Lei Hao. Lei Hao felt his hairs raise at Zuo's gaze. The pale face became even more white. He stammered, I encountered something gray. I thought it was a treasure and wanted to catch it. But that thing was very strange. When I touched it, I was wounded." A burst of joy came into Zuo's heart. He had just inspected the wounds inside Lei Hao's body. His body had truly been harmed by a power not inside the five elements. Where did the gray shadow go after? Zhuo asked. It flew into the secret realm, Lei Hao obediently responded. Isn't the entrance to the secret realm closed? How could it fly in? I don't know. Zhuo suddenly thought of how the entrance to the secret realm required 5 of the 5 element spells to open and of Silly Bird's present attribute of not being within the 5 elements. That was a possibility. Where is the entrance to the secret realm? Zhuo asked a last question. Over there. Lei Hao pointed to a mountain valley nearby. Zhuo snickered at him. You answered well. As he finished, he raised his hand and threw Lei Hao back into the chaotic battlefield. Instantly, the people converged on him. Zhuo looked at the 2 people fighting in the air, and regretted that the time wasn't right. If it wasn't that he was in a hurry to find Silly Bird, he would definitely take the chance to kill Huang Zhuoguang. Huang Zhuoguang was the second-ranked expert of Clear Sky Sect. If he could be killed, it would greatly weaken Clear Sky Sect. He suddenly found that he had underestimated the strength of Clear Sky Sect. Huang Zhuoguang was very powerful. Zheng Zhong had Ning my 3rd stratum cultivation, but he was at the disadvantage. This shocked Zhuo. Seeing Huang Zhuoguang's sword essence, Zhuo suddenly understood a bit. The sky in Clear Sky Sect wasn't all to do with the sky soil, but with the sky itself. It was the sword of the sky. The sword essence was vast and intangible. There was clearly nothing, but it made one feel that it could not be stopped. Huang Zhuoguang's sword became even brighter with a hint of with sunlight-like warmth. No matter if it was the sword energy or his movement, when in the air Huang Zhuoguang was like a fish in water. Zhuo's consciousness was exceptional. He had a feeling that Huang Zhuoguang's flying sword had a kind of unspeakable connection to the sky. He was astounded. How was it possible? Did this person start cultivating when he was inside his mother? In this moment, Zhuo decided to kill the other. If he missed this chance, it would almost be impossible to get a chance to kill him in the future. An ingenious idea came to mind. Chapter 273, The Critical Sword Point. Huang Zhuoguang stood in the air. Zheng Zhong's cool eyes unconsciously showed hints of terror. He had been fooled. The dominance on Huang Zhuoguang's face had long disappeared, his eyes scornful. The brutality and dominance was just his disguise. Zheng Zhong realized that he had been tricked. From the start, he thought that Huang Zhuoguang walked the path of domination and strength. At this time, he discovered he was completely wrong. The sword of the sky was ethereal, empty and vast, invisible and intangible. His sword essence was extremely strange. Zheng Zhong had never seen it before. What was most scary was that the entire sky seemed to have become his support. Meeting Huang Zhuoguang's eyes that were as cold and deep as the blue sky, the battle spirit in Zheng Zhong's heart was unconsciously weakened. Zheng Zhong was skilled in fighting. His cultivation was also slightly higher than Huang Zhuoguang and he had instantly detected it. However, he wasn't willing to escape like this. He could see the situation below. He knew that if he could keep stalling for a while, he could rely on his shitty to come help him. No matter how difficult Huang Zhuoguang's sword essence was to handle, or how many transformations his sword moves had, he believed if he and his shitty worked together, they could kill the other. At this point, Zheng Zhong was already defeated, but his goal was very clear. He wasn't in attempting to defeat Huang Zhuoguang but to get the secret realm. Therefore, he was dragging the battle out. Your shitty have all been killed, Zheng Zhong suddenly said. Huang Zhuoguang smiled unconcernedly and said, who cares if the trash die? There was none of the dominance and overbearing presence on his face. His eyes were cold and composed. Zheng Zhong's heart felt a chill. This was a vicious and emotionless person. He said, why don't you run? Run? Huang Zhuoguang seemed to have heard a great joke. Why should I run? I know you are stalling and waiting for your shitty to come help you. There wasn't any panic in Huang Zhuoguang's voice. His mouth curved, his eyes slowly narrowing. It is a pity that you do not know that the difference in our power isn't something that can be made up by quantity. Zheng Zhong was slightly shocked. The confidence in Huang Zhuoguang's voice wasn't a pretense, but he was still puzzled. He was at a disadvantage, but the difference in their strengths wasn't as large as Huang Zhuoguang stated. Unless Huang Zhuoguang had hidden his strength? Zheng Zhong's heart suddenly jumped. Zuo was very quick. Like a bolt of lightning, he reached the entrance to the secret realm. The entrance was inside a cave. Outside the cave, it was already chaotic, the sword energies were flying everywhere and multicolored talismans flashing about. The Ling power inside the little valley was a total mess. When Lu Gui and the others saw Zuo, their faces changed slightly. Shixiang had told them not to provoke this person. They had also seen Zuo's young fiendish hard lightning with their own eyes, and were wary. Seeing Zuo coming to the secret realm, they instantly knew it wasn't good. 7 of them had been hiding in the chaotic crowd. They were also very careful, and had earned a significant amount. However, this amount of gains could not compare to a secret realm that had never been explored. Zuo had already noticed Lu Gui and the others by the secret realm's entrance. Seeing the wariness on their faces, he knew if he proposed his plan, the others probably wouldn't believe him. Making a decision, Zuo did not hesitate and took out the serene water sword. Inhaling deeply, he stepped hard on the ground and jumped. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he charged up 7 dozen zhang. At the highest point, he suddenly crouched and hugged his knees, flipping forward. However, he only performed a half flip. When his head was pointing downwards, the legs that were curved upwards suddenly pushed off the empty space above him. Bam! It was like there was an invisible wall above him, his legs pushing on it, he blasted off. All the Ling power in Zuo's body moved at that instant. His body stretching out, it was a straight line from the tip of the sword to his heels. His entire person had transformed into a flying sword. A sharp howl suddenly sounded, muffling over every other sound in the valley. Everyone jumped and unconsciously stopped what they were doing. When they raised their heads to look up, it was as though they were struck by lightning. It was possible to see a figure blurred by shuttle-shaped air ripples. The air inside the entire valley started to tremble, the fierce convulsions of the air rippled towards the ground. The ground shook like trembling dice. Zuo had completely forgotten everything at this point. The booming of air beside his ears causing him to be unable to hear anything. The pleasure of extreme speed caused the temperature of his blood to increase exponentially. Uncontrollably, he gave a long howl. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate more. He seemed to exercise all his Ling power and strength in this short 100 zhang. The furious air turbulence exploded around him, the temperature also rising. He thought of the meteor void fire in the past. In the beginning, he had named it, diving from the sky. Later, he had learned that the name of this move was called meteor void fire, a very famous move of Diana Xiu. However, Zhongru had tried many times, but could not create void fire. Zuo found something unique. The air turbulence around him would not scatter during his charge. When his speed reached a certain level, he could tear apart the turbulence created from air, and create a certain kind of suction. This suction would cause the turbulence to stay close to his body, and form a turbulent area. The void fire was birthed in this turbulent area. Like when 2 hard pieces of rock collided together, it would create sparks. This turbulent area was like an area of rock made out of pieces of stone moving against each other high speed, so sparks naturally formed. Zuo's consciousness was like many tiny tentacles, accurately stirring the turbulence. Hiss crack. A thread of fire shot out of the turbulence around his body. Quickly, the area of turbulence lit up around Zuo's body was like wood soaked in turpentine. More than 10 threads of fire snaked their way around Zuo's body. But immediately after, Zuo felt an unexpected change happen. These fire snakes seemed to have smelt blood, all of them flooding towards the sword tip of the flying sword. The sword tip was like a powerful whirlpool, continuously consuming flames. In the blink of an eye, all the fire around Zuo was absorbed into the sword tip. At this time, the sword tip was burning bright with a blinding red light. In the eyes of everyone in the valley, there was a burning red light with astounding speed drawing out a bold straight line across their vision. All of the sword essence, all of the void fire was compressed in the needle-sized area of the sword tip. Everyone was shaking in fright. Motherfucker! Run! It wasn't clear who first said it, but the group suddenly woke up. Instantly, wails rose. They hated that their parents hadn't birthed them with another pair of legs. Stumbling and crawling, they sprinted towards the sides of the valley. In the blink of an eye, the entrance that had been blocked was cleared. Lu Gui and the others all changed expressions. When Shixiang reminded them not to provoke the person, they had not been concerned. Even when they were wary of Zuomo's young fiendish hard lightning bolt, but that was just wariness. Until this sword appeared, this sword that compressed all the sword essence and explosiveness to the extreme. They truly felt respect and terror. None of the 7 people dared to go stop this blow. They stood at their spot like wooden puppets, their faces raised, their mouths open as they looked dazedly at the blinding light. What weirdo was this? Their perception was better than average. The dot of red light that was compressed to the limits made them instinctively feel a suffocating sense of danger. The Ling power and air turbulence that had been created by the fights inside the valley were now like wild horses that had been broken and simultaneously calmed down. The shaking ground seemed to also have detected the danger and became silent. Other than the panicking people that were feeling, everything else in the mountain valley seemed to freeze at this moment. They seemed to be waiting for the conqueror to arrive. Light flashed in Huang Zhuoguang and Jing Zhong's eyes. In the sky near them, a blinding red light was at the front of a diving figure. That dot of red light made both of them change expression. A strange light flashed across Huang Zhuoguang's face. He noticed the nervousness on Jing Zhong's face. His mind moved, and purposefully said, this person isn't weak. Is he fighting against your shitty? Huang Zhuoguang's words were exactly what Jing Zhong was worried about. However, he trusted that his shitty would not be so impulsive and shot back, no matter. If he gets the secret realm, it's better than you getting the secret realm. You have animosity towards me. Huang Zhuoguang narrowed his eyes again. Animosity? Zheng Zhong laughed coldly. Is there anyone still alive in Little Mountain Jia that doesn't have animosity against you? That's true, Huang Zhuoguang nodded. The world is like this. If you are angry, be angry that your luck isn't good. Zuo, who had made such a ruckus and stopped the crowds, didn't have any smugness on his face. Wrapped in the turbulence, his face was as pale as paper, his eyes terrified, his heart at his throat. These was only one thought left in his mind. He really had played a terrible hand. Serene Water Sword was a water element flying sword. He was used to the Li Water Sword scripture, and had picked this water element flying sword. Serene Water Sword was a good flying sword, its entire body made from serene water, and pure in water element power. But damn it! The pure water element power became the most crucial threat. There was no problem in compressing the Li Water Sword essence, but Zuo had not expected that the compressed sword essence would create a strong suction and absorb the void fire, thereby also compressing it at the sword tip. Now, the problem was huge. Void fire was an extremely volatile flame, and a flame that Zuo was extremely unfamiliar with. Water and fire could not merge in the first place. As the void fire entered the serene water sword, the only outcome he could think of was an explosion. Even more, the void fire inside the serene water sword had been compressed to its limits. Motherfucker! Even if this thing wasn't inside the serene water sword, even if it was just a drop of water, there was only one outcome. Boom, a loud sound, and no bones would be left remaining in a radius of 30 zhang. Right now, there was something else that was also dangerous, the sword essence that had been highly compressed. The addition of the sword essence had kept the three factors in an exquisite equilibrium, but it was very unstable. In other words, if Mo let go, the flying sword would instantly explode. Adding on the sword essence that was compressed. If this exploded, then an area 50 zhang in radius, oh no, 80 zhang in radius, not a hair would remain. Looking at the ground that was coming increasingly close to him, Mo's face paled, his hand trembling, crying without tears. Save me. This wasn't a joke. The slightly black guy in front of him was clearly stronger than they were by a large margin, and was extremely terrifying. They didn't know what problems Mo just had, but his power was displayed right there. Without knowing his intentions, jumping out was akin to trying to seeking death. The other people's thoughts were very similar to Lu Gue. Mo's half of a move had frightened everyone. Mo saw that no one responded to him, and instantly faltered. He turned to face the entrance of the secret realm. Without a call, these people flooded forward. Mo turned in fright. What are you doing? A voice suddenly sounded among the crowd. Big bro, you eat the meat, but let us drink some soup. Yes, yes. Big bro, you pick what's good first, and let us get some benefits. Calls like this instantly sounded among the crowd. Mo was dumbstruck. Lu Gue and the others were dumbstruck. No one had expected the situation would reach such a strange step. You bear to part with that? Mo said thoughtlessly. Big bro is joking. You are the strongest, it's right that you pick first. The person who spoke first saw that Mo wasn't a hard person to interact with. His courage rose and he stood out. Right. That's the rationale. Every person agreed. Lu Gue and the others didn't dare to speak. Other people might not know what they had just done, but this person of mysterious origins knew. If they stepped forward at this time and the other might reveal what they had just done, and they would be sliced to death. Mo gradually calmed down, and said with slight amusement, you guys trust me this much? Big bro, you didn't even look at the white fang sword just now. How can anything normal enter your eyes? The man was a smart one. As to better things, we don't dare to think about it. That's right, who dares to be greedy and covets big bro's things, everyone will chop him. Chop him. The people all agreed. Lu Gue shook with fright. These people were all very experienced old-timers. They knew that they, a random bunch of rabble, could not possibly get anything out of the secret realm. Mo's heart was slightly insecure. He liked the white fang sword too, but he had been thinking of the grey bird then and didn't have the time. Gu really hadn't disregarded it. However, he quickly understood what these people were thinking. Before, he had only thought of tripping up Huang Zhuoguang. The present situation was way out of his predictions. However, he responded quickly. If that's the case, then let us work together to kill Huang Zhuoguang first. If we don't kill him, this secret realm won't be ours. As Mo said this, many people instantly hesitated. They were only pursuing wealth, but didn't want to lose their lives. The vicious reputation of Huang Zhuoguang had long been engraved their hearts. The man who had just spoken said, "What are we afraid of? If Huang Zhuoguang escapes, who among us will be able to escape the consequences in and being connected to the deaths of the Sky Sect disciples?" Mo silently praised the person for his cleverness. As expected, the people that had hesitated instantly started to shout, "Do it! We have this many people, we can slice him to death with one blow from each of us." Mo threw out at a good time, "There's some good talismans on Huang Zhuoguang's body. Afterwards, it will depend on who has the best luck." These words were instantly effective. Nothing was more tempting than talismans. Their courage instantly rose. Lu Gui and the few people were joyous upon hearing this. If this expert of mysterious skill could team up with Xixiang, Huang Zhuoguang would have a hard time escaping. Big bro, say what to do, and we'll do it. Lu Gui hurriedly shouted. Zuomo suddenly found the situation was better than he had imagined. With this group of people, he could more easily set it up. Even though it wasn't possible to rely on them to do something difficult, but not all things were difficult. As he continued to issue out orders, the people that received them were filled with puzzlement. They could not understand at all what use the things Zuomo was asking them to do had. Zuomo requested for most of them to continuously release sword energies and spells inside the valley. Even though their faces were filled with puzzlement, but they still followed and released spells and sword energies at empty areas. The entire mountain valley became filled with all kinds of colored light. Zuomo stood at the entrance to the secret realm. The secret realm entrance was a floating ball of light. Looking at the entrance, his grasp of the situation rose. This entrance was a natural 5-element formation. It wasn't hard to open, but it required using all 5-element powers at the same time. He looked at Lu Gui. Seeing Lu Gui nod, he started to rapidly send 5-element power towards the entrance. As the 5-element spells entered the ball of light, 5-colored light exploded. In the sky, Huang Zhuoguang's expression changed, killing intent filled in his eyes. His figure suddenly disappeared. This group of damned bastards. The reason he had been so confident before was largely due to his assumption that this group could not open the entrance. He had observed the entrance to the secret realm. It required putting in 5 kinds of 5-element spells at the same time. It was easy to find people that were skilled in one element or several, but it was rare to find those shouja skilled in all 5. Finding 5 shouja to cast spells at the same time was an action he had resorted to out of helplessness. He knew that in reality, this method couldn't open the entrance to the secret realm completely. He didn't worry at all. No matter how many shouja possessed the entrance, if the entrance wasn't opened, then this secret realm would belong to Clear Sky Sect, no one could take it away. So when the light flashed as the entrance was opened, he was both terrified and furious. His figure flashed into the mountain valley, aiming for Zuomo. The other shouja were a school of little fish in his eyes. The reality was just as he thought. When he appeared in the mountain valley, the shouja flew into the sky like a group of alarmed birds. Huang Zhuoguang instantly saw Zuomo in front of the entrance. My eyes had failed me. So you are skilled in all 5 elements. A cold light flashed in Huang Zhuoguang's eyes. I hadn't thought I would encounter another expert today. Such good luck. Madman. Zuomo rolled his eyes. Look at the time. He was still rambling. Without his hesitation, he raised his hand for a Yang Fiendish Hard Lightning Bolt. Yang Fiendish Hard Lightning was the move of Little Thousand Leaf Hands that he was most familiar with. At present, he almost didn't have to think and could cast it. Hard Lightning. Huang Zhuoguang was slightly surprised, but he was not shocked. Just this thing, and you dare to attack me? Zuomo suddenly sent out a bolt of Yang Fiendish Hard Lightning with his right palm. With a hiss, it seemed to strike something invisible. Huang Zhuoguang finally had a shocked expression. How was it possible? How could this guy so easily find his sword energy? His clear sky sword energy was invisible and intangible, extremely hard to detect. Zuomo didn't feel anything. Speaking of invisibility and intangibility, there probably was no sword energy that could compare to the void sword scripture that Wei Xixiang cultivated. While Huang Zhuoguang's sky sword essence was also invisible and intangible, but these qualities were not outstanding. The reason that people continuously were defeated by Huang Zhuoguang was that his sword essence was too ethereal and hard to find, but Zuomo had an exceptional consciousness and Ling Eye, so these qualities were not scary. At this time, Zheng Zhong also appeared behind Huang Zhuoguang. Lu Gui and the other 6 appeared at same time, the 8 people forming a complete circle. Zuomo reversed and retreated. A smirk appeared at the corner of Huang Zhuoguang's mouth, gang fighting? What they probably didn't know was that he was the least afraid of gang fighting. The more people there were, the more power his sword scripture could release. Stupid. He decided to let these ignorant people see just how wrong they were. Just as he was going to attack, the smirk at his mouth suddenly froze. Chapter 275 Circle Kill. When Huang Zhuoguang suddenly appeared, the space surrounding him became chaotic. Countless Ling power flows, countless air turbulence flows. The small mountain valley was like an area of turbulence. What was most terrible was, he didn't need to raise his head to know that his connection with the sky had been cut off. In a flash, he realized, a trap. This was a trap that had been prepared for him. The Ling power of the mountain valley randomly flew and collided in an unstable state. Some scenes that he had disregarded before flowed through his mind. Coldness rose through his heart. The group of Xiuzha that had panicked and rose when he entered the mountain valley had looked like a group of birds startled by an angle, so helpless, so weak, so alarmed. But now, he realized that this group of pitifully weak people had used Ling power and turbulence to create a net above the mountain valley without him noticing, a net blocking him from the sky. He was separated from the sky. Such a poisonous trap. Some admiration rose. This group seemed like a rabble, and was low on battle capabilities. It really was admirable that the other could think of such a great idea, and execute it effectively. His gaze landed on Zhuo, who was guarding the entrance to the secret realm, so this person was actually the most powerful of the bunch. Huang Zhuoguang's eyes narrowed for the second time. Facing a predicament, after the initial shock, he wasn't afraid. Quite the opposite. His desire for battle was instantly ignited. He felt the temperature of his body continuously increase. There never had been someone that could force him to such a predicament. To such a sorry state. Without the sky, you dare to challenge me? Huang Zhuoguang's eyes brightened, the flying sword in his hands suddenly sweeping up. A strong presence expanded. The fine turbulence around him instantly cleared. Zheng Zhong and the others did not hesitate in stepping forward. This was also the reason Zhuo had retreated. Zheng Zhong and his group could work together. If he was in the middle, he would actually disrupt their cooperative battle capabilities. It was better to withdraw and wait for an opportunity. The area of the mountain valley was narrow and small. In this kind of battle, what people competed on were their reaction times, little techniques, and talismans. Huang Zhuoguang had never experienced this kind of battle before, but he did not fear it. His body was entirely covered in 4th-grade talismans. The Ling armor on his body was a 4th-grade earth element Ling armor, one of the finest pieces produced by Clear Sky sect, called Dusty Sky Ling armor. It was made from sky soil. Out of affection for him, Clear Sky old forefather had added 3 grains of sky sand into it. This caused the grade of the Ling armor to increase greatly, especially its formations. Clear Sky old forefather even used the 9-turn sky soil disc to copy formations that gave it the ability to defend and attack enemies. There was a layer of sand mist that continuously wrapped around Huang Zhuoguang's body. One shouldn't underestimate these sand mists. They could easily break 2nd-grade flying swords, and the most damaging ability was that it could always corrode the other. Dusty Sky Ling armor was definitely a great weapon for close combat. People usually could not see his flying sword because it would always be hidden in the sky. The flying sword forged from the essence of Cloud's soul, Sky Inquirer, was like an invisible flow of water silently spinning above Huang Zhuoguang's head. Even the jade pendant on his body and the hair tie were also not ordinary, all high-level items. Zheng Zhong and the others instantly looked much poorer when compared to him. Other than the silver snowy flying sword in Zheng Zhong's hand that was low 4th grade, all that the other people had were 3rd grade. Zhuo had to shake his head on the inside. It seemed that they didn't have an easy time surviving. 4th grade talismans were extremely expensive. For example, Zuomo's thunder-flowing light wings were intermediate 4th grade, and cost him 60 pieces of 4th grade jingshi. It had to be said that one piece of 4th grade jingshi was equivalent to 500 pieces of 3rd grade jingshi. In other words, this talisman required 30,000 pieces of 3rd grade jingshi. This price was not something that normal people could tolerate. Zuomo had won many things in Little Mountain Jia, enough talismans to make a small mountain, but the number of 4th grade talismans could be counted on his fingers. In the present Little Mountain Jia, 3rd grade talismans were the mainstream armaments. 4th grade talismans were all on the hands of the experts. As to talismans like the 9-turn sky soil disc, even if you had one, you didn't dare to use it. Of the many talismans, 4th grade flying swords were the rarest, and the most welcome. There was no way about it, Little Mountain Jia's shoujia were mostly sword shio. Zuomo unconsciously inventoried his own wealth and found to his surprise that he had some assets. But things like the thunder-flowing light wings, 7-star sword boots, they were mostly things that he bought using jingshi he earned from selling Golden Crow fire. Seeing the difference in talismans between the two sides, Zuomo knew it would not be an easy fight. The reason the price between 4th grade and 3rd grade talismans was so large was that, other than the materials being rarer and the abilities more outstanding, there was another area, formations. 4th grade talismans frequently would have their own formation techniques. The sand mist that the Dusty Sky Ling armor exuded was a formation combat technique called Mist Kill. The formation combat technique of Zuomo's 7-star sword boots were more unique. That was a sword formation. The majority of 4th grade talismans had formation combat techniques, it was rare that they did not have them, like the thunder-flowing light wings. This kind of talismans that did not have formation combat techniques were able to qualify to 4th grade due to one reason. It was that one of its attributes was too strong, like the speed of the thunder-flowing light wings. A good talisman in the hands of a novice was just a pile of scrap metal, but in the hands of an expert, it could be wielded to its greatest potential. And if an expert was covered in good talismans? Zuomo started to have a headache. The situation kept on changing unexpectedly. At the start, his plan hadn't changed very much. He had planned on using little thousand-leaf hands to mess up the turbulence even more. He hadn't expected these people to be willing to listen to him. The plan had been even more perfect. But now he found, no matter how much they planned, Huang Zhuoguang was not suppressed like he had imagined. Huang Zhuoguang did not fear being surrounded and attacked. The formation combat technique of his Ling armor, Mist Kill, at full power, his entire person seemed like a person-shaped meat grinder, unreasonably charging and smashing about. The double tiger eye boots on his feet were not average. Each time he stepped on the ground, the earth trembled. It had the same abilities as Zuomo's 10,000 appearances gloves. If the other showed the slightest weakness, the flying sword above his head would suddenly strike. If it wasn't for the fact that Zheng Zhong and his fellows cooperated well, many of them would already have been killed. As Huang Zhuoguang became familiar with this kind of combat, he responded with greater ease. His feet suddenly shoving off, he was like a cannonball shot out of a cannon, smashing towards Lu Gui with astonishing speed. Lu Gui was very shocked, the flying sword stabbing multiple times in front of him, and a sword curtain appeared in front. But he suddenly tapped the ground on the way, his figure changing directions and leapt at someone else. That person had been trying to go up to help Lu Gui, and didn't expect Huang Zhuoguang to suddenly turn around. He didn't have the time to respond, and Huang Zhuoguang had charged in front of him. Terror rose in his eyes. Just as he was about to be ground by the sand mist, a snow sword light stabbed at Huang Zhuoguang. Zheng Zhong's attack was perfectly timed. Huang Zhuoguang was still very wary of Zheng Zhong. He swerved and flashed past the sword light. Before Zheng Zhong could sigh in relief, a spark suddenly appeared above the shitty's head, a flying sword flashing and disappearing. Huang Zhuoguang's gaze suddenly landed on Zuomo's body. He hadn't expected Zuomo was able to detect his well-concealed attack. Zuomo shook his head as he kept on watching. This cooperation between this group was much worse than Lil Miss groups. It was far less than what he predicted. Out of helplessness, he could only shout, "Everyone else to the sky, let Brother Zheng deal with him." Lu Gui and the others had hesitant expressions. Zheng Zhong unhesitatingly said, "Listen to him." The other people flew into the sky, emptying out the mountain valley. Only Zuemo and Zheng Zhong were left to face Huang Zhuoguang. Huang Zhuoguang's confidence had grown as he fought. He laughed, "Both of you can come together." Zuemo was not affected. "Old Zheng, use your flying sword." Before he finished, a layer of light suddenly covered his eyes. Ling Ai. He raised his hands for a bolt of young fiendish hard lightning. His target was not Huang Zhuoguang, but the space above Huang Zhuoguang. Hiss crack. A flying sword revealed its true form, countless lightning arcs flashing on its body. With a sorrowful wail, it trembled. "You dare to damage my flying sword." Huang Zhuoguang was enraged and tried to charge at Zuemo. Zheng Zhong instantly understood what Zuemo had planned. His wrist shook, and several silver snowy white sword energies lit up and pushed Huang Zhuoguang back. Zheng Zhong's flying sword was also 4th grade, so he did not fear the sand mist of Huang Zhuoguang's Ling armor. Since the mountain valley was now empty, he did not have to worry about accidentally wounding his fellows. The sword lights flew from his hand. In close combat, controlling the sword from the distance was not as good as holding the sword. Huang Zhuoguang cut a sorry figure, as he was dodging the sword energies and call back, "Sky Inquirer." Zuemo didn't care and continued to smash young fiendish hard lightning towards Huang Zhuoguang's unique flying sword like they didn't cost Jingshi. The Sky Inquirer sword was made from the essence of cloud souls. It was both water element and yin. Something like young fiendish hard lightning, which was both young and hard, was its natural enemy. After suffering 20 bolts, it finally stopped trembling, and slammed to the ground like a piece of ordinary metal and stayed there. Anyone with some knowledge knew that this flying sword was now ruined. Many of the Xiuzhe who saw this from the air all sighed. Such a good flying sword. It had been 4th grade. Ruined like this. His beloved sword ruined, Huang Zhuoguang was completely enraged. The hair tie suddenly exploded, his hair standing on end. His eyes were red as he gave a sky-shaking bellow, "Die!" All the Ling power in his body moved. He was like a lion that had lost all reason as he charged at Zuemo. Pia Pia Pia. Several sword energies hit his body. He ignored them all, still charging at Zuemo. Boom, the dusty sky Ling armor shattered to pieces, the sand mist instantly disappearing. But in that instant, the crazy Huang Zhuoguang had arrived in front of Zuemo. What welcomed him was a fist as exquisite as glass. Even though he was furious, Huang Zhuoguang still had some rationality. The fingers on his right hand coming together to form sword essence. Without a flying sword, the danger of the sword essence was many times lower. He had to send out 7 sword essences in a row to destroy this glass fist. The distance between the two was now only 3 zhang. The bloody light in Huang Zhuoguang's eyes grew. His left foot pushing off hard, he was like an arrow released from the bow, his right leg kicking towards Zuemo. At the tip of his foot, a double-eyed white tiger had suddenly appeared with a howl. Double-eyed tiger head boot, formation combat technique, tiger howl. A fist covered in countless lights imprinted itself without technique on the forehead of this white tiger. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.